Well, welcome to the show before the show. I checked to make sure everything is working. I'm your host, Florian. I'm pretty stoked for this new vampire, I'm not gonna lie. And I don't know why. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, and the show before the show is here to make sure everything's working. So I'm gonna tune in and make sure everything is. How are you guys? I'm gonna start this one a little bit earlier today. Starting it a little bit earlier, a few reasons why. One, I tend to monologue during the show before the show. So to give everyone a good chance to catch up with me and me to catch up with you, I just want to give us a few more minutes to do that so that we can start the show, ideally, on time. And it's scheduled for 3 p.m., so we'll try to start right around then. And just sending an alert to the Discord, letting the world know that we're about to start. Our Discordians got to pick the time. If you're not on the Discord, definitely join. A lot of live streams are dictated by my guest, but for the ones that I solo, you guys tell me when's best for you. And it's clearly when I want to do these. I'm going to pour one out to Flo, to all my vampire buddies out there. Did you know that there are 19 werewolves in Innistrad Midnight Hunt to 15 vampires? There are just as many vampire legends to werewolf legends in the set with the wolf as its logo. Just saying. Interesting fact about this set. And that's really not saying much. There's a legendary werewolf and a legendary vampire. That's it. But I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I'm double checking the math here. There are 15 vampires in this set. And you know, I know Crimson Vow's coming out. There's a vampire set. Obviously, these two are married together. It is a total package. But I was expecting just a handful more werewolves. I don't know why. Call me crazy. I just thought that's what would happen. But that's okay. We can settle for what we got here and just be satisfied, Pat. But what we got is fairly decent. Mind you, this set isn't exclusively for Commander, and of course, we will be omitting any of the Commander Innistrad cards because they're not all out yet. However, at the end of this video, maybe we can do a little bonus and look over what's been spoiled thus far. I believe everything up to date is on Scryfall, so we can take a gander at those if you all would like. It seems like pretty generic value stuff, like Will Held, draw cards, the other legendary I saw, draw cards. There's like, okay, Commander players want to draw cards, right? Let's do that. Let's do a lot of that. And that's what they did. There's a lot of that. But I'm going to tune in with you guys. See how you're doing. Oh my god, 1 hour early. I am Alfrius. Thank you for tuning in an hour early. I was filming... Okay, so this morning has been so much. I'm doing a lot more work with this company that I freelance with, and it has been really bogging me down so far as my time is concerned, which is, you know, good. Money's good, but I've had to cram so much before this trip Allison and I are taking tomorrow. So the reason I wanted to do this now and not hold off for the Commander set is, one, this is still fresh on everyone's mind. This is before pre-release. But also, because we're going to go to Texas and visit some family soon. So sadly, if you are a ardent fan of the live streams here, the Tuesday stream is not necessarily canceled. It's just pushed back until I'm back from vacation. It's going to be raining the entire time we're in Texas, but it's fine. We're going to be seeing family, nephews. It should be a good time. But we're going to be there for a week. I might even do a pre-release while I'm in Texas. If you are a friend on the Discord from Texas, let me know and maybe we can hit up your game shop. I know Allie's brother likes Magic as well, so we might game there. But it's mostly about the nephews, okay? Let's focus on the nephews. But yeah, the Tuesday live stream I'm going to push for the following week, and I'll probably do like a double header where we do one Brewmaster segment and of course our cold brew segment, which I want to talk about in just a second. But yeah, thank you for tuning in an hour earlier. I was filming all day, writing and filming all day. So I'm here early too, I feel. I try not to work on Sundays, but obviously these streams, I don't really consider this work. This is really more fun. Fun with an audience. Hopefully fun for you. We have Peter. Hi. Trent. Clinking it. Kendall says hi. Richard Lamb. Dad Lindo. We can look at Lind. Did I write Lind down? Well, I'll go over the specifics for this stream. If you have not tuned into a live set review before, I'll go over the logistics of that in just a few. Right at 3 p.m. My goal to start right at 3 p.m. because we usually go well over the mark, but we'll try today. Crimson Vow is going to be have several legendary vampires, at least Olivia and Sorin for sure. Well, Sorin, yeah. Sorin Markov isn't that the one that's a planeswalker? I mean, it's weird to me that we only got one legendary creature werewolf, right? Arlen canonically a werewolf, right? But it's not like a playable commander. I thought we would see more. You know, not that this is a commander specific set, but I don't know. I just thought we'd see more. Do you think I get something zombie related in the next set that's actually useful in Scarab? I would cross my fingers and say yes. I think you might want to use the double-sided Malevolent Hermit. It's a good card. It's just a good card. And I would say probably exclusively for mono to dual color. Maybe some triple colored lists would want that, but we'll discuss that when we get to that. Hello, Eros Omega. Really cute cards in the set. Excited for tomorrow's commander deck leaks as well. Likewise, I'm going to look at them and we can talk about them on the Discord. We've got a pretty loyal fan base that's always putting the newest stuff out, even before I notice it. Justin usually texts me as soon as he sees it. But yeah, if you want to communicate on those cards as they release, feel free to join the Discord. It's free to join, and you can check out everything as it releases then too. People have been speculating a new Edgar Markov too. I mean, it's a vampire set. I would hope so, right? Looking for a relaxed time, though, since a pipe burst in my kitchen today. Damn. I got stuck in my elevator today. I thought I wasn't going to be here. I am so sorry about your pipe. I live in an old building, too, so I'm accustomed to shit breaking down. It's a joy. Hopefully you've fixed that. And cheers to you, Richard Lamb. Cheers to you. Apologies for the broken pipe. It was my doing. I just reread Rem Caloris. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Since I thought it had potential, and only then I noticed the whole spell thing on it. Well, glad I didn't order the foil Pyrohemia because I was excited. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're referring to. I believe you, though. I'm glad you didn't order it. I didn't order the... Okay, anyways. Yeah, definitely including Hermit, but I was hopeful about Zombie, Token Maker, but Decay makes it rough. Decay makes it rough, but we'll talk about that card too. You're talking about Poppet Stitcher. It's still good. It's actually really good. It's not difficult to trigger and flip. Again, we'll talk about that in a few. And the way this is organized on their site, it's a little bit odd. You'll notice that Innistrad Midnight Hunt is organized Wooburg order, multicolor artifact land, and then double-faced card. So there are double-faced cards that are, of course, in two color identities, but there are some that are monocolor double-face. Those exist in the double-faced card section. So if I glaze over blue and I don't mention a card that you want to talk about, the Hermit, well, it's going to come up in the double-faced section. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Just a heads up. Yay, zombies. Can't wait for tomorrow. So many new cards for zombie EDH. Yeah, there was it's funny, I spent like an hour just researching different card combos. And what is its name? It's like Rot Giant, Rot Lung, Rot. There's this zombie that you can, when it enters the battlefield, you can return any zombies from your graveyard to the battlefield based off the number of opponents you have. Maybe you can let me know what that is. But I was looking for like different zombie synergies. There's a lot of really good zombie combos out there. Not to mention the fact that, you know, Ace Rack exists and you can get like cEDH. I mean, I'm going to look up the card. I need to know what the card is now. But there was this combo I created. Totally original. All me. There's this thing I came up with that seems like a fun thing to do. And whether it's been done before, I don't know. But you can use cEDH and like Rot Hulk. When Rot Hulk enters the battlefield, return up to X target zombie cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of opponents you have. So at most 3. right? At least in a commander setting. Bring back Rot Hulk, you can get something like cEDH, Acerak, and then any other potential combo card you would want. The idea being that cEDH would kill Rot Hulk to grab a Lurin / you go for gold. And what's cool about this is that it was something that I was trying to string together in tandem with old Stick Fingers, who we'll talk about today. Is that better than just doing something with Necrotic Ooze? Probably not, but I wanted to see if there were other avenues of approach that were more streamlined, or at least more interesting. So I played with a few ideas. Rot Hulk is really cool, though. I've actually never played with this card, but this is a pretty genius idea if you were to do like a big Buried Alive pile and or just a old Stick Finger pile and have Rot Hulk. Just a thought. Oh, and before we begin, I want to do just a little shout out. I'm going to probably do these during the show, before the show, but to all of you that have joined up on the membership program here on YouTube, thank you so much. There's going to be a shout out to one Brew Bestie every live stream, and we've got one right here with Little Big Boss Jr. Metal Gear Solid. I was actually just watching a bunch of MGS trivia recently on Did You Know Gaming, specifically based on the director of those games, but Kojima. But yeah, Little Big Boss Jr., welcome. Thank you for joining as a Brew Bestie. I noticed you joined upon seeing the stream. I hope you're here today. I hope you get this message, and I appreciate you because you helped to make the show go round. I don't know if it's round, technically, but you helped to make it work, and I appreciate that. Rot Hulk is the one from Game Nights. From Game Nights? From Game Night? Oh, yeah, this is a set. I don't even know what this set is. Okay. Yeah, but it's a real card. It looks really cool. It's something you can do things with. I drilled a screw into the plug and hole and stuck. Does this lift sound like hell? Stuck in a lift sounds like hell. So it worked. Is Adeline slotting into Najila? That is something we can talk about as we get into this one for sure. New booze legendary from this set. Sorry, it's a bad card. Boros. I wish there was a new booze legendary. How many depictions of alcohol are there in the game of Magic the Gathering? I'm curious now. I would actually like to know. I don't know if they really cater to their adult audience as much as they could, or at least the side of that audience that enjoys a drink or two. But yeah, I'm thank you for misspelling Boros for me to have that thought. Are zombies being spoiled tomorrow? Potentially. Pat, what's your favorite Metal Gear Solid? I hope it's the one that ends where you live. My favorite Metal Gear Solid. It's funny, I grew up watching my brother play a lot of Metal Gear Solid. The first one I think I played through all the way was Sons of Liberty. I actually played a lot of a different Kojima game called Boktai. The Sun is in Your Hand, the Solar Django series. It's also a tactical... It's funny, it's actually on theme today. So if you've never played Boktai in the Game Boy Advance, you play as this solar warrior that fights vampires and other various monsters with a solar gun. And the game cartridge had a solar panel on it that you would charge up to defeat enemies. And it would encourage you to go outside and play games, which I didn't necessarily do because you could cheese it with like a black light. So I didn't really do what the game was designed to do necessarily. But when I was traveling, like, it would actually work and was really fun. But yeah, I played those a lot growing up. I was very much a handheld gamer. When we had a PlayStation 1, though, we had the original Metal Gear Solid. I wouldn't say the original Metal Gear Solid. It's like the third game in the series, I think. There was Metal Gear Snake's Mission or something like that, and then there was Metal Gear Solid, which we had on PS1. I later beat that after I played Sons of Liberty, and I wound up buying like some sort of collector set with Snake Eater and all the rest of them. I guess Sons of Liberty was my favorite just because it's the one that kind of got me into the series. But I don't know if that's like the best one. I don't know. But that was Metal Gear Solid 2, right? Which is weird because... Spoiler, you play as Raiden, if I'm not mistaken. This is the one where you're like Raiden after the very first mission. But yeah, I really enjoyed that game. Anyway, that was a very long-winded answer to your question. Okay, your logo is round, at least. Tis. 'tis round. Let's see here. They had 2 versions of the game similar to Pokemon, with red and blue, I think, right? There was actually Boktai 1 and 2, and the second one's a little bit of a rarity. 2 was a little, or rather, yeah, the second one was a bit more of a rarity. It was kind of harder to find. I only found it later in life, but I had Boktai 1, which was very fun. But I played the Golden Sun series. I played everything on Game Boy Advance. I was obsessed with my Game Boy Advance. But yeah, probably consensus generally is Snake Eater. Yeah, it seems that Snake Eater is everyone's favorite Metal Gear Solid. Doesn't it have like one of the world's longest cutscenes in a video game ever as well? Isn't that one of the interesting nods that that game has? Metal Gear Rising, hack and slash game, or a treat back in the day. Lynn curses cold brew. Lynn, oh, you're referring to the girl from the Commander set specifically. Yeah, that could be a thing, I guess. And I leave it to our 99 members here on the channel for all future cold brews. That's actually something that's going to go up to a vote. So very interestingly, and by the way, the dude we're discussing Metal Gear Solid over, Little Solid Snake, little Big Boss Jr., if you haven't voted on the recent poll, well then we're actually going to be covering, let me go to her now. We're actually going to be doing the next cold brew for literally, I'm going to cover it when we do the review, just because it has my favorite art in a long time, but Gissa Glorious Resurrector. That's our next cold brew. So I might as well preamble this before we start. If you are a 99 member, so that is a brew buddy or bestie, you'll get to vote on all future cold brews, and those are the ones we'll tackle every other Tuesday. And of course, you also get to play on the Brewers live sessions that are open to guests outside of our honored guest. So if you haven't joined the Discord and spoken to me yet, then do so, and that way I can assign you a role so that you can also jump in on those Brew Wars live. And in the future, there are probably going to be segments where it's only members that get to speak on the streams, because there's a limited camp of players that, or rather viewers that join these streams, and you guys, your opinions matter the most to me. Besties, obviously, during any session, if you speak up, I will of course respond to you. Buddies, same kind of story before reaching the general public. But to all the viewers, thank you for tuning in for these. I have a blast with them. But that's essentially how the membership program works here. A lot of the same benefits that our Patreon members have, except it's almost exclusive to our live stream setup. Because half of the programming I want to do moving forward will be live stream based. It's just more enjoyable for me, and hopefully equally as enjoyable for you. I think that this is a better way to go about this kind of entertainment, personally speaking. But Gissa Glorious Resurrector is our next cold brew. And of course, you all can make suggestions as to what you'd like to see next. I'll probably put up a general comment post on what legendary you'd like to see next. It doesn't have to be from Innistrad, but I mean, I'm assuming that's what most of us want to brew for anyways. I can't afford to join the cult right now. Life got expensive. That's fine though. Don't worry about it. Man, Lind is such a trap of a commander. Trying to do a curse-centric deck, probably. There's a handful of curses that exist. I don't know if they're all good, but they exist. But why don't we go ahead? I'm gonna get this squared away, and we can start this up, as I promised, right at 3 p.m. I think I got to all of our general questions. Welcome back to the 99, where we're focused on brewing a better competitive commander. I'm your host, Patrick Marlads, and this is a live stream set review for Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Now, how this is going to shake out is that we're going to cover all the cards from the set that I find are across the board good in any given situation in Wooburg order. Then we'll discuss multicolored artifacts, lands, of which there are none, and double face cards. That was a big spoiler, I'm sorry. But we're doing this in the order that Magic the Gathering has it set up on their website. So if you want to join along as I go through this list of cards, you can do so by following the link in the description. I made it easy for you. I hope I put that link there. But yeah, if you want to see the cards we're discussing, that's how we'll do it. As I go over each individual category, so for example, white. After I'm done discussing all the cards, I will turn to our brew besties, buddies, and then general audience viewers for opinions on any cards that I might have missed. And again, I'm not perfect, okay? It might seem that way, but underneath this beautiful husk of a man is a shamble, a wreck, a guy who barely knows what he's talking about when it comes to MTG. So I need you to help me find the best cards, find the synergies, and discuss those combos that I might have missed. So again, I try to look for the cards that are just across the board generally good for decks. But if there are cards in here that have niche strategies or combos, let me know and we can talk about them. And of course, we can assess which decks they're best for. It could be a specific color pairing and or legendary, but that's part of the fun of doing this live. So if you're not here live, I'm sorry. Give this a good 12 to 24 hours to see the live chat, because I'm going to be responding to a lot of live chat. And so you're not confused. That will be your guide. Again, that live chat doesn't immediately pop up. That's out of my control. It is something on YouTube's end. Okay, I want to tune with you guys, and then we'll get to this set. Can't afford to join the call. Okay, we're all caught up. Thank you for listening. Let's do this. So, Innistrad Midnight Hunt. It was completely spoiled just a little while back. And I gotta say, there's a handful of decent cards for a commander, but these aren't all commander worthy. And in an odd twist of fate, this is rare, this is extremely rare, a majority of the cards that I found universally good are in white. How uncommon. My favorite color. So let's go ahead and start by discussing the first card I find very relevant with Cathar Commando. So she should be on the screen now, but Cathar Commando for 1 generic, 1 white, creature, human, soldier, 3/1 body. It's pretty beefy. Flash, excellent. Flash blocker. What else can you do, Pat? Well, if you had 1 more mana in your quiver, sacrifice Cathar Commando. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Now here's why this is good. There's a card that's still played in a lot of mono green lists and dual color lists that incorporate green, and that card is Caustic Caterpillar. There are just certain situations where you need the artifact or enchantment removal, and that card's really great because you can do green Sun Zenith, X equals 1, here's my Caustic Caterpillar. Well, now you have a very similar option in white. Bearing in mind, we don't have white Sun Zenith. Well, that will find you a Cathar Commando. However, provided this is in your hand, 1, it's an excellent, and I mean this, it's an excellent blocker that trades up, because don't let that Tymna think she can get in on you. Fuck that Tymna. On top of the fact that you can also pop this to smack an artifact or enchantment. This is actually quite good in that common slot from the set. It's really good. What's also unique to this is the flash effect. So it's rare in white that you have very many instances that are at your disposal that are brilliant use in a commander setting. And this is all coming from the perspective of a cEDH player. I should mention that. However, you do get to hold your mana open, provided there is anything else you'd like to do. Use your Sensei's Divining Top, cast Silence, use Swords of Plowshare, or just cast Cathar Commando to have this up to start pinging. I say pinging, I mean thwacking, bolting that mono black filthy Adnos player, or Grixis, or Cody, or whatever is popular right now. Name that. Uses life, smack it for 3, and also just pop it. Oh, Cody. Pop Cody with Cathar Commando. You have these tools in your arsenal now. This is a new one. Use it. Get a copy. I'm not going to encourage you to use the link in the description, but I mean, if you really wanted to, if you really wanted to help your boy out, and you're going to buy the cards anyways, right? Moving on. Not as good. Not as good as some other cards, namely Angelic Ascension. But removal is removal, and new removal is good. So more removal options make me happy. And sadly, this is one of the better rares from the set. There's a lot of chaff in the set. I mean, there's a lot of bad rares from the set. But Fateful Absence isn't bad. And there you go. There's Soren right there. Look at him. Okay, so for 1 generic, 1 white, instant speed, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Its controller investigates. I know that sounds bad, giving someone draw. It is. Again, Angelic Ascension, far better in my opinion. I'm going to paraphrase here, but that is exile target creature or planeswalker. That controller gets a 4/4 angel. Guess what? If you are playing mono white and slaying something, they're going to swing, unless they're being spiteful, and then you have a different problem on your hand. But if you give someone a 4/4 angel, that's going to swing at the player who's trying to cast Ad Nauseam, and that's a good thing. When you exile something, that's a good thing. No one is using cards to retrieve things from exile. No one is on Rift Sweeper. No one is on Pull from Eternity. At least that I see at all these days. Maybe Gitrog is on Rift Sweeper because it is desperate for Dakmar salvage. But that's the only deck, right? So Faithful Absence, the Destroy is a weaker element of this card, but this could very easily replace something like a Generous Gift in a mono-white list, provided those are your main threats. And I mean creatures and planeswalkers. It's still fine. It's still a really good card. Now, the next card I want to discuss, it's not, okay. I want to say there's an honorary mention. It's good. It's not great. But this is more or less what I believe white should be doing moving forward. Like, if you're going to be behind, you got to do more than giving me a 1/1 white soldier or whatever the hell previous effects have been, because Sunset Revelry sets the bar so freaking high. This is a good card. This is like a very good card in my earnest opinion. For one generic 1 white sorcery, it's okay that it's sorcery, because if an opponent has more life than you, you gain 4 life. Well, that's what white does, okay? Get used to it. That's something white does. However, if an opponent controls more creatures than you, create 2 white human creature tokens. That's a lot of bodies. That's a lot of bodies for just you having 1 more creature than me. If you just cast your commander and I haven't cast my commander yet and I have no creatures, I just get to generate 2 bodies that I can do anything with. Say this is our Orzhov list. That's 1 Diabolic Intent target and 1 Culling the Weak target. It's 1 body for anything. And if it's a Voltron list, or if you're going wide, or there's some strategy where you want relevant bodies, that's more bodies for you. And in the what's more department, if an opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw a card. Again, honorary mention. I love this. This is, when white's behind, it should do this shit. It should do more. It should do far more. And the way these are all worded, if an opponent, makes it super versatile in a commander setting. So this obviously weaves in well with the mesh that is the commander format. I want more cards like this. This is good. This is what every come from behind card should look like. And the last card I want to talk about before I defer to you, my friends, is Vanquish the Horde. Now, I know Dam just came out. Okay, so if you're in a list that can use Dam, Orzhov, or other various white-black combination, that might be better. But this is really good. So for 6 generic, double white, stay with me, please. Sorcery speed. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Oh my god, Sunset Revelry. We just made 2, we just reduced the cost of this. Who gives a shit about these tokens? We just reduced the cost of this spell by 2. Okay, anyways. Destroy all creatures. In a lot of settings, this will be double white. That's less than Dam. That's less than any other board wipe in the history of Magic. That might not be true. You can fact check me. Get to me in the comment section after the video. However, Vanquish the Horde is phenomenal board wipe. There's a list I'm working on right now. I've talked about it on the Discord. I've talked about it with our Patreon community. Arden and Tevesh. Arden and Tevesh. Brilliant setup for a Voltron commander. Light stacks, beat people down. It's actually doing what I want it to do, but I want to keep tweaking it. Tevesh generates thralls. You are simultaneously reducing the cost of Vanquish the Horde by upping Tevesh by 2. And oh, and then what's more department here, you're eliminating the threats that would be trying to smack down Tevesh. This is a really fantastic card pending the deck. And in that list, I would say it's even better than Dam. I would probably run both. It's very much, it's not apples and oranges. It's like Fuji apples and Gala apples in this scenario. I would say that Vanquish the Horde is the Fuji apple. It's the purer of the 2. It lasts longer. It's sweeter. It does exactly what you want it to do. Gala apples are a little bit more versatile, though. You know, maybe you'll use that in apple pie, whereas you wouldn't really turn to a Fuji. However, I'm curious. What are your thoughts? I'm going to have just swig of tequila here and take a breather. But I'd love to know your thoughts on white exclusively. What from white got you excited? I'm going to try to backtrack just a little bit here. And if there's something I missed, let me know and we can discuss it live. Okay. Did this just start? No! There are generally 2 cards that are side grades to Qasali Pride Mage in the set. Though I think this is better of the two. Yes, and Hamahimana is referring to a green card, and we'll of course discuss the green card in a second. Kusali Pride Mage is another type of card that does a similar effect to our Cathar Commando. Right, so if you're tuning in late, we just discussed that. That's what I was wondering. I forgot to set a reminder. Hopefully didn't miss much. We just started on white. You missed everything. Is this for Commander, correct? Oh, it is indeed. Could you get all effects from Sunset Revelry? Could you get all effects? Yeah. Yeah, except for maybe the life gain, because who gives a shit about your life unless you're in Orzhov, as I was mentioning. Then, you know, someone's going to care about your life. Brutal Cathar is amazing removal. I agree. Did he pass blue? Not yet, baby boy. Not yet. Or girl. I don't know. Take a look at the Curse of Silence. Yes. Sebastian is in the right mind state. This is where you suggest anything you think that is noteworthy or notable, and we can discuss it from the perspective, the superior opinion of a competitive Commander player. Now, mind you, my opinion isn't absolute, although some think it is. I would love your thoughts on anything I say. So definitely chat back at me. But Curse of Silence, for those of you who are trying to play Lind, right? Is she in white? I forget. She Esper? She Esper? Okay. 1 white. Enchantment or a curse. Enchant player. All right. So in a commander setting, you are just saying you don't want to. One guy is getting all of your ire. But as Curse of Silence enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Thassa's Oracle, motherfucker. Spells with the chosen name, enchanted player costs 2 more to cast. Ah, oh, damn it. It doesn't really shut them off from doing it. But in a unique turn of events, right? Doesn't Sanctum Prelate only do non-creature? Is that what she is? Like creatures of a cards of a certain CMC? This is a cool way to like tax that one thing you know that one deck is doing, right? So that's cool. And if there's a more common card like Ad Nauseam, then maybe that's better to call out. But the issue here being you're only really affecting this one player. Okay. Whenever enchanted player casts a spell with the chosen name, you may sacrifice Curse of Silence if you do draw a card. Now, personally speaking, if I were using Curse of Silence, this would actually go on the player, the control list player. And that might seem rude, but they're not going to focus on getting their commander out pending what this control list is doing. However, you can sort of manipulate this such that you can get them to play more defensively by making them have to sideline their commander that much further. Like if you just said their commander's name, then they're like, well, shit, okay, fine. Unless they want to remove this, they will work around that by just manning the board, still building their board, getting to a state where they can pay the tax and just get over this stupid hump that you placed on them. That would be maybe an advisable action for this. Obviously, you can still shut someone down by saying ad nauseum, blah, it's 7 now. You still got there? Okay, well, maybe I get to draw a card. That's something you get to do, because after they cast ad nauseum once, that's probably going to be it. How many other cards are you hoping to block this way? Do you have knowledge of all of the free counters in that opponent's hand? Are you going to say Force of Will? You say Pact of Negation? This way you can sort of shut them out when they're tapped out from doing that one thing you were expecting. Is it a Deadly Rollick? What free spell are you going to name instead? I don't really see Curse of Silence being hugely vital to any cEDH player's game plan. If you're using a curse specific list, then maybe this is going to be good. Something like Sithis might enjoy this because it's a cantrip for 1 white and you get to shut an opponent down who's maybe a little bit more proactive. Maybe that list would enjoy it. You guys can suggest some legendaries in the chat and obviously in the comment section after this video, but I don't know. I don't really see this being a super playable card. It's hard to say where this slots in because it's only doing one thing to one person. In mid to late game, top decking this is a little awkward because everyone's got their mana base, everyone's got their artifact base set up, you know, unless someone's collector oofed and then, I don't know, someone's destroyed all the lands and then you're really in a shit spot, everyone, and then you're going to shut one person down. It's weird. It's weird. All right. Sigardian Savior can't do things and Rihanna link list. Sigardian Savior? Sigardian Savior. Oh, this is okay. This is okay. When Sigardian Savior enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return up to 2 target creatures. Now, you said Reanimator. You gotta cast it, right? As soon as you read that line of text, you say, why the fuck was this mythic rare? Or maybe you omit the F word. Pardon my French. But why was this mythic rare? You are eliminating the utility of this by adding in clauses like that. You'll see with a lot of cards in the set, they added a bunch of little specifics that make a lot of cards that could be good complete dog dick. This being one of them, in my earnest opinion. I think 5 mana to get 2 creatures of 2 mana value or less from your graveyard. Just play Savine's Reclamation. Play Savine's Reclamation, get that permanent of 3 CMC and under, and then spend the same amount of mana you would for Sigardian Savior to do that shit again. Because this is reading as a one-time sorcery effect that you must cast. If I could reanimate her and do this, then it would be mediocre. But it's not very good. No offense to this card. A good morning from Hawaii, says Jens. Thank you for the super chat, and good morning to you, Jens. Are there any white cards you want to discuss before I move on with life? Let me know in the comment section down below here, or rather the live chat. But yeah, Sigardian Savior, I'm going to avoid. Assume we discussed Brutal Cathar later. Brutal Cathar? Is that a white card? I'm assuming that's the other one. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that later then. Adeline is an interesting white Voltron commander. Yeah, we can look at Adeline really quick. Now, you know, I omitted Adeline in my outline of white here because she is... I mean, I guess you could just say you should probably play Najeela over this, right? In all scenarios. I think that it would have been fair to make this double generic in a white instead of generic and double white. Why limit this? There's a better version of this. Now, this, you know, the token generation is a little different. Arguably better on Najeela. And the fact that she's an outlet. I don't know why this was generic and double white, is what I'm saying. It's just a little confusing to me. However, legendary creature Human Knight 4, asterisk 4, Vigilance. Adeline, her power is equal to the number of creatures you control. Well, guess what? On the tap, for each opponent, you create a white, 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. This is still good. Now, don't get me wrong. I like this a lot. I love that they are designing cards for a go white strategy. I think her mana cost is fucked up. I think this should have been changed to 2 generic and a white instead because it's no better than a card that's pre-existing. That's outrageous. But it's okay. And it's an interesting go wide white strategy. And obviously, if you're using a lot of anthems or effects that care about having multiple 1/1s, this is good. And or you could just have skull clamp to get leverage off of these creatures, provided they last this attack phase. You can just draw off of this. So it's giving you bodies to utilize. One with Skull Clamp and or any other body utilizing card in mono white. In most instances, your Steel Shaper's Gift or your, Open the Armory is going to go for Skull Clamp and probably leverage that in Adeline. But then otherwise, again, as you mentioned, Voltron, you're probably going to go for some other artifact equipment later, get the ball rolling on just doing a lot of damage and perhaps using a handful of anthems to make your army just a little bit better. And maybe your top end is an Elish Norn that you hard cast. God, that's awful. However, it's okay. I'm a little annoyed with the mana cost here. I feel like it should have been better. Okay. No, already hit V-Horde, only real white card I like from this set. And Mono White Pride Mage, dude. Yes, the Cathar Commando. I agree. A Mono White Pride Mage, dude, is very good. All right. Let's move on. Adeline might just be tied for best white weenie commander next to God Eternal Oketra. I almost feel like Oketra, I would probably encourage you to use Oketra first. All right, it's like you don't have to do as much for Oketra, but again, generating 1/1 bodies is actually a good utility, right? There's things that can be leveraged with that. I believe Mentor of the Meek is it's not non-token, but whenever a creature with power blah or less enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 to draw a card. So stuff like that. There are interesting synergies for weenie creatures where Oketra gives you 4/4s, right? So it's a different type of utility, but for going wide, you're doing more damage with Oketra. So if I'm not mistaken. Slow down here, there, commander with it. Slow down. Call the commander. They will cast. All right. I figured you can make slow down deck that turns to a turbo commander. I missed the cast. It's garbage. It goes in garbage. Sorry, Quaiko. Should you buy these now, pre-order, or just wait for release? There's nothing that I'm seeing that is like Ragavan price worthy that we'll discuss today, and maybe I'm mistaken. But if someone has a better knowledge of what is being used in other formats, then they can, you know, chime in on this. But I don't think any of these are necessarily pre-order worthy. It's generally always better to wait a week to 2 weeks after the set releases. And there's a lot more of these cards on the market, and all the pre-release foils are out, and all of that shit has just flooded the market because the prices will go down. So generally speaking, you want to wait. Okay. It also almost reminds me of a budget Najeela, but limited to white, minus the activated ability. Yeah, the activated ability is really what puts Najeela on the map, and sort of Adeline by the wayside. However, I do like Adeline conceptually. I think she's fine. I think if she was double generic on a white, it would be very, very, very interesting. The fact that you could put her down so much more quickly and start leveraging her effects sooner that way. And I mean, with things like your Mana Crypts of the world, and or just chance scenarios where you might be able to do, you know, Ancient Tomb into a Mana Vault into an Arcane Signet into my girl, right? There's going to be more ways to put her on the field if it was just double generic instead. I think they really mucked her up this way. All right, anyways. I think about, I used to run Oketra, super strong and resilient. I agree, Jen. I would like to see an Oketra. I was actually thinking about doing that before. I'm thinking of building Gissa for the next month's budget EDH tournament. Well, Quaiko, hang tight because we're going to be doing Gissa here on our next cold brew. So if there's no more white cards we want to discuss, I'm going to move on over to blue. And guess what? As I mentioned off the bat, there are double-faced cards that are in the double-faced category of Magic's website. So hang tight till the end of this video to see those. So there's a card in blue that we're not going to be discussing right now. The only card I have to mention in blue, oddly, is Consider. A better opt, question mark? Yeah, in most situations. Is that not how Surveil reads, by the way? This card is going to be exclusive, I would say, to Mono Blue. I don't think many lists outside of Mono Blue are going to really consider this card. Not trying to be punny. But for one blue, instant, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. Why are we avoiding Surveil? Isn't this just Surveil 1? Am I crazy? Am I taking crazy pills? Is there a reason that they didn't use the keyword Surveil? Draw a card. That's all this is. That's all this is. And it's okay. All the other blue cards, kind of shit. Oh, damn it. I gotta say, David Palumbo, we don't deserve you. This set doesn't deserve you. You deserve better cards. Because art like this should be played. And sadly, David, Dissipate outside of a limited situation is probably not going to be played that often. Although it is cool. I wish they put this in the rare slot and took away the one generic, because it's not like we don't have Mana Drain to counterspell already. But Dissipate would have been really dope in the rare slot. And then this art would get to be leveraged because it's fucking gorgeous. I really love David's work. At any rate, those are all the blue cards that I can think of that are decent. Malevolent Hermit, okay, we're talking about it later. If I read anything about Malevolent Hermit, we're gonna talk about it later. I promise. Okay. Won't trigger Battalion. Sure. Bereaved Survivor. Yeah. Okay. Standard set prices generally drop more than other sets too, says Kusa. It's the same as Surveil. Yes. Why are we avoiding the word Surveil? Is my question. Why are we avoiding the word Surveil? Surveil is not evergreen. Make it evergreen. How long did it take us to make mill a keyword? If scry is evergreen, right? If you're going to make an effect that reads just as Surveil, that you've taught us and we understand is a Surveil effect, just use the fucking word. Am I insane? Am I taking crazy pills? This is Surveil. Okay. How's Fading Light? This doesn't sound like a blue card, but I will look for it. Fading Hope? Fading Hope. I'm assuming that's what we're referring to. Jen's kid says, WotC likes over-explaining older keywords and newer sets. Yes, it's a fact. Gavin put out a video saying that having both keywords surveil and scry in the same set would be confusing for new players. Did he really say that, Gavin? If you ever watch this, share this with Gavin. What the fuck? That doesn't make... What? No! That's why you have this reminder text. That's why you have this. And scry is an old-ass fucking keyword, and you're still teaching new players scry? No. Just put this in captions. Explain what surveil is so that new players can adjust. Because I think if surveil is going to be an effect that you include in another set other than Ravnica, you should probably just explain what that is too, because it makes a lot more sense. And that way you get to fit in all that fun wording anyways. But Fading Hope. For 1 blue, instant speed, return target creature to its owner's hand. If its mana value was 3 or less, scry 1. So it doesn't matter if that creature is a creature you control. It is a good way to bounce a creature. I think that scry 1 is probably less than just running. So Chain of Vapor is like the go-to bounce card. This is narrow in what it is capable of doing because it only hits creatures for 1 mana. I think, yeah, Chain of Vapor hits any non-land permanent or any permanent, I think. Am I lying? No, it's any non-land permanent and you have to sacrifice a land. That's generally regarded as like the go-to bounce card. Creatures generally aren't that threatening enough to warrant this unless you're trying to bounce your own Dockside Extortionist or other value creature, ETB creature. So in most instances, I could see Fading Hope being leveraged to bounce a creature that you can get additional value from. And or maybe you failed on doing a combo with your Narumea list. This could just be an additional card to give you the opportunity to use her again. And or if you have a creature that ETBs and copies an effect just like that, like a Dualcaster Mage in your Is It list, this is a cool opportunity to go Dualcaster Mage, steal your Demonic Tutor, grab my Heat Shimmer, Fading Hope, bounce this back to hand, and now I can go off again, or try to go off, right? There are lists for this. I just don't know if this is one of the better bounce to hands that exist. But for 1 blue, it's pretty good, and if creatures are relevant at least to your strategy, then it's worth it. But also, if you're trying to combo and say there's like an Elish Norn on the field and it's stopping you from doing your creature-based combo, you're in blue, okay, so Faustus Oracle, you don't care. But if you were using some creature-based combo, you could bounce Elish Norn. You won't get to scry, but you could do that. Okay, so, greetings from Argentina. Greetings from Argentina. Yeah, surveil, but not triggers the surveil ability. Whatever the fuck. Hot take, Spectral Adversary can be seen as a harder to counter Cyclonic Rift. Remove stacks pieces, hit all permanent types during the end step of a combo off. This is, I'm sorry, you are referring to Spectral Adversary. Okay, we can look at Spectral Adversary very quickly here. For those of you at home who are interested. Okay, so there's a handful of these creatures in the list. I think it's the Adversary Cycle. I believe they all have the name Adversary. Teach those new players to recognize patterns, right? And then drop it. So for 1 generic, 1 blue, getting my hair tie out. Might use that in a second. Almost drank a hair there. Mythic Rare, Creature Spirit, excellent art. I love Geist or spirits with lanterns. It's just a good look. 2/1 body, flash, flying. When Spectral Adversary enters the battlefield, it's not a kicker cost, right? So what's cool about this, and it's almost like multi-kicker, but better, is that you can have this enter the battlefield. However, you didn't have to have cast it to fulfill the cost. And what's even better about this is if you did something with a multi-kicker and was countered on the stack, then you're just screwed, right? But in this instance, you can reanimate this and get the effect should it resolve. And then someone would have to have a stifle effect or something to stop your trigger from going off. But enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 generic, 1 blue any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many +1/+1 counters on Spectral Adversary, then up to that many other target artifacts, creatures, and or enchantments phase out. So this is a good way to get rid of core stacks pieces that are stunting you from doing your thing perhaps on your turn, and or eliminate potential threats before your turn rolls around, and or save your own cards from getting annihilated. There's Psych Rift used here as an example. that this can be harder to counter Cyclonic Rift. Predominantly because creatures aren't necessarily a common threat in Commander, and a lot of people don't hold counters specifically for creatures. A lot of the general use counters seen, at least in a cEDH setting, are actually non-creature specific. So that might be what Eris is speaking of here. Spectral Adversary will probably get away with it because someone will less likely have a counter for a creature than they would an instant like Cyclonic Rift. I think this is fine. I think this is multi-versatile. I think it's a lot of mana to do the thing. And Cyclonic Rift is it's the best. If you're stacked out, if you're behind, if you want to just stop what's happening and you have the mana, an overloaded Cyclonic Rift is just as good as it always has been. It's a stupid card. I don't know if Spectral Adversary lives up to that value because you're never going to eliminate an entire board of things, but phasing out just specific things can be equally as good and in some instances better. So I like it. I don't know if it's I don't want to say it's a hot take. It's good. I think it's good, Eris. Geistwave seems cool. Is that we want to look at Geistwave? If someone says they want to look at Geistwave again, I will look at it. They said Surveil having a random one off didn't make sense. Sure. Surveil is tied to Dimir on Ravnica, but I agree with you. Is it tied to Dimir on Ravnica? Who gives a shit? Ease up on the crazy pills. Yeah, it's never going to happen. I'll take one every morning, boy. Yes, he did. Isn't Surveil exclusive to a certain plane? Why would it be exclusive? What? What? Yo, I get to see you look at cards. Big vampire fan. Nice. Yeah, look at you. Looking at me, look at cards. No, you get to ask me about cards. Don't be a chucklehead. What do you guys want to see? Do we really want to look at Geistwave? Fine. We'll look at Geistwave. And this is going to be the last blue card we look at unless I'm missing something here. Unless someone makes another amazing suggestion. Malevolent Hermit Backside. God damn it, Alexi. You must have missed me say it, but all the double-sided cards are going to be discussed at the end of this video because if you are following along on WotC's website, they have categorized it that way. We'll look at it later, I promise. It's a good blue card, though. Geistwave. Really cool art. A lot of cool art in this set. 1 generic, 1 blue, instant speed, common, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you controlled that permanent, draw a card. Well, it's okay. It's an interesting way to protect your thing. For 2 mana, it's kind of asking a lot. I know that seems odd to say, but you kind of, less is definitely more in a cEDH setting. I don't know if this is really going to be critical in any setting, though. I think breaking even with it, because you go down a card and then you go back up a card if it was something that you were protecting of your own, right? You draw a card. This is okay. If this was 1 blue, obviously this would be far better, because the thing you could be bouncing could be Mana Crypt. And then, oh, I'm tapping Mana Crypt for 2 generic, bouncing it to my hand, producing another 2 generic. I just went up 3, right? Because I used 1 blue to do this. That would be interesting form of play. And I drew a card. However, as it stands, it's a little too costly, right? Because if I was just doing Geistwave, in most other scenarios, it's just a form of protection, which is not enough. Blue is the color of counter, so just use that instead. I don't know how this is going to slot into many blue lists. If you guys like Geistwave, though, I would be interested in hearing what list you would leverage that in. Does Orvar care? Like, whenever you target a thing, you can duplicate it, so maybe Orvar? I don't know outside of that, though, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Noboru says, Geistwave is good in Vadrik. Is it good in Orvar, though? Answer me. Have you talked about Mr. Flashback? Is that his name? Food was tied to Eldraine, and we got cards in MH2. Thank you! Damn. Dragon's Rage channel has Surveil, and that's red! Oh my god! You know, it's funny because I don't remember these off the top of my head, but you're absolutely freaking right. It's confusing to new players, though. That's probably why I forgot. Send this to Gavin. I'd love to have that tete-a-tete I'm curious. Anyways, or just have him on the show. He'd be fun to play with. I don't think he plays cEDH though. We're moving on. Winds of Rebuke sees a fair amount of play. Now, Winds of Rebuke is okay. You want to talk about Winds of Rebuke? You want to talk about Winds of Rebuke with me? You want to talk about Winds of Rebuke? Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Each player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Yeah, it does see play. I usually see it in mono or dual color, right? I think this is just okay too. To be perfectly honest with you, I think that Winds of Rebuke is used. I'll leave Scryfall up just for our own sakes if we want to look at other cards. I don't. There's better things that you could be doing than Winds of Rebuke in most decks. Obviously, the effect here of milling everyone can be useful, particularly if there is grave hate on the battlefield. That I would maybe put Winds of Rebuke just a little bit above Geistwave, because Geistwave, the Winds of Rebuke normally when I see it is like, I'm going to stop you from doing a thing. And then you're not going to draw. So yeah, Winds of Rebuke is probably better than Geistwave. But that's it. These are not anything to write home about though. Winds of Rebuke is not a great card. I'm just iffy on it in general. At any rate, MH2 is for advanced players. For standard sets, they don't want to put 50 keywords. Or just, instead of doing the stupid loose advertisement cards, why don't you just have a fucking card in every pack that said what the keywords were? Learn them. Tell them. Because the stupid ads we get in those packs, you're wasting paper. You're wasting ink. Make this a useful utility. I used to get these fat packs, these old fat packs would have like brochures that were useful in explaining keywords in the set and obviously lore and all that other fun stuff. Just do that again. Just put useful cards in there. Anyways, I feel like that TikToker that just sees things that could be done better. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anyways, moving on to black. There's nothing. There's nothing in black that we need to talk about. Unless there's something that you want to talk about, I'm going to take a drink and then I will discuss anything you think we should talk about from black and Innistrad Midnight Hunt. But to be perfectly honest with you, this set was not really gracious to black in any great way. Again, this is all coming from the perspective, the superior opinion of a cEDH player. So if I'm not playing it, then why are you? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm interested though. What are you going to play from the set for black? I think there was a new removal spell that was just okay. Okay. Yes, preach. Thank you. Did Justin get a bon when he read Lear a boner? No. No, he didn't. Because that card is complete shit. Meat Hook Thing. Meat Hook Thing. All right, we'll talk about Meat Hook Thing. One, I love the theme of the card. I love the concept behind the card. I don't think it's a great card, but it exists. So we'll talk about it. So for X, double black, the Meat Hook Massacre, legendary enchantment. When the Meat Hook Massacre enters the battlefield, each creature gets -X until the end of turn. So in most instances, you would just call it a good day if you had Toxic Deluge in hand, and then the Meat Hook Massacre is just extra. All right, it's a one more black to do the same thing, provided you also have an enchantment with added value. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. That's nothing to scoff at. This is an outlet for some decks that leverage mass creature creation. So if you're doing loops, even if you had a zombie in the command zone, a Phyrexian Altar, and a Grave Crawler, then you can actually win the game. But this is harkening back to the beginning of this video. As I mentioned, I was only going to really mention cards that are universally good. So again, that is a niche combo that you can do. There's obviously other things you can do with Meat Hook Massacre. But on the very, very back end, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain a life. So, and again, it's not relevant because you do care about your life total when you're trying to cast a fat ad nauseum. But you're trying to cast that ad nauseum between turn 1 and 2. And if things did not go well turn 3, right? For a lot of these more proactive lists. So Meathook Massacre really isn't in the cards for those lists. So the life gain is kind of negligible so far as the black deck is concerned that might, be using Meathook Massacre. But we talked about it. The Meathook thing. I hate that advertising card. Give at least a token. Yeah, it's just odd. Can we petition WotC to just stop wasting paper and ink? Could we? I just think it's silly. I think it's absolutely silly. Like, I have no use for these things. These useless pieces of cardboard. It's already intermingled with what are a lot of chaff commons and uncommons in many instances, and a lot of chaff rares and mythics from this set that you're just wasting resources. Okay. Lord of the for scan and cut ribbons. Oh, that's cute. Yeah. So if you don't know, cut ribbons. Okay. It's important that we have our bearings before we look at Lord of the Forsaken. So cut ribbons is a Rakdos card. So you will need to be in at least red and black. But if you look at the back end, ribbons, aftermath, each opponent loses X life. So you can do things with these two cards. Because you're in Rakdos, it's likely people are swinging at you. So however much life you have left at this point, I don't think it's going to be more than your opponents. But Lord of the Forsaken. For 4 generic, double black, creature demon, 6/6 body, flying trample, pay a black, sacrifice another creature, target player mills 3 cards. Cool. Oh, Imperial Seal. Sacrifice my Viserysir. I don't know. Mill my cut ribbons. Cool. Pay 1 life to add generic. Spend this mana only to cast spells from your graveyard. So things with Aftermath, if you Underworld Breach, if you have anything that can be alternatively cast from your graveyard, yes, you may use this mana in that instance. So you can do that. But I don't know if you're going to close out the game this way. And provided you fail, you're like at 3 life now, or where are you life-wise? It's not going to be a good spot because cut ribbons, it's not like it's uncounterable unless someone casts Lier and then nothing can be, spells can't be countered or whatever he reads. It's very bad. You can do that. That's a thing you can do. I think that this card's okay. We can look at Lier really quick. This card is such shit. Don't worry. We'll be talking about it soon on the channel. Spells can't be countered. Yeah, right. Just say fuck you to the one thing blue does well, and then, nix all of the cards you play in blue. It's such a bad card. Okay. Nobru says, worth noting that counterspells typically have a harder time hitting an enchantment rather than a sorcery like Deluge. So you're saying Meathook Massacre for an extra black? Are you slotting this in over your Toxic Deluge? Are you? Because you need to think, those blue decks, they don't usually give a shit about those creatures unless it's a cast, right? They're probably not going to stop you from wiping the board of all of those hate bears. They don't care. In my earnest opinion, you're probably going to get away with the Toxic Deluge. It's not worth a hit. It's not worth wasting a counter on in most instances because it's probably not going to affect the person who's utilizing blue. Because I got to tell you, if they leveraged their Thassa's Oracle and failed, they probably want it in their grave or anywhere else other than the battlefield anyway. So do the Toxic Deluge. I do agree, though, that this it would slip in a little bit more easily, right? Unless it's a swan song they're throwing at you. It would slip in a little bit more easily. Meathook Massacre should be X and a black to be kind of cEDH viable. Yeah. Lord of the Forsaken is from this set. It is indeed. Is there a chance werewolves do anything at all? Maybe. Inferno Grasp. Inferno Grasp? Is this a black? Okay, we're probably moving on from black unless there's one more black card you all want to discuss. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to hit me up with all of the black cards you want to see. I'm going to read the newest comments, but 10 seconds starting now. Any other black cards? Any other black cards? Not personally, but my friend will be quick, but it's still interesting. Okay. Also, Lord Dockside Breach is something similar to Grinding Station Breach Loops. Yeah. Yes, it is. So, okay. if you guys are wondering what is being said here, Underworld Breach makes it so that any card has the ability to escape, and escape of 3. So you can use Lord of the Forsaken with mana from Dockside to kill Dockside, to mill yourself, to Underworld Breach. You're making mana, you're finding solutions. I think that just use Grinding Station. I don't know, just use Grinding Station. Even Rakdos would rather just use Grinding Station. Lord of the Forsaken is just a high CMC spell that's going to get in the way of your ad nauseum. Even, especially Rakdos. Like, if you're playing Rakdos proactively like I do, you don't want a 6 CMC spell that's part of a niche strategy where there's a card that's better for said strategy, being Grinding Station, right? You could just use Grinding Station with your Mana Crypt and cast that for 0, right? So, and I understand that that is a niche strategy. It's one of the reasons I didn't bring up Lord of the Forsaken, but I do feel there are better alternative options, even in the colors that this would thrive in, right? Being black, obviously, for this, and then red for Underworld Breach. Anyway, okay. Mask of Grizzlebrand, please. Mask of Grizzlebrand, please. Okay. For one... Thank you for saying please. Thank you for saying no one's ever said please on the channel, I don't think. I appreciate that. 1 generic double black legendary artifact equipment. Looks like his mask. Equipped creature has flying and lifelink. Ah, and if only it had pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. Is that how Grizzlebrand reads? Let's just compare Grizzlebrand's items here. Why don't we? My God, that's a good card. That's a good card, isn't it? Why don't people play it in? Okay. Yeah. Fuck reanimate. No, we don't want that. It's not fun. Just stop them from doing it. We'll have an unbanned day on the channel soon. I promise. We'll have an unbanned day. It would be very fun to play with Grizzlebrand, in my earnest opinion. Oh my God, recurring nightmare. All the things. Whenever a equipped creature dies, you may pay X life, where X is its power. If you do, draw X cards. So this is actually an interesting utility, provided you're using a sack outlet resource to generate infinite mana. Utilize this with your commander. Draw cards based off that commander's power, right? So it's just a cool utility for those scenarios. It's 6 mana total to just onboard it and equip it, and it's not doing much for your commander. Flying and lifelink is just okay. Yes, you get to live the dream of having the same keywords as Grizzlebrand, but other than that, it's not the same as a Grizzlebrand. Clearly, it could not be. However, it's okay draw. I hate to break it down that way. And thank you for being so cordial when asking about Mask of Grizzlebrand. But I think it's okay. Okay, moving on with life. Infernal Grass. Could you please look at Infernal? Could you please look at Infernal Grass? That's how I read it, and I will if I can find it. Okay. 1 generic, 1 black, Infernal Grasp, instant speed, destroy target creature, you lose 2 life. So it's got competition, right? So you do have things like the typical removal spells in black are maybe like Snuff Out. It's free, you lose life, destroy target non-black creature. Obviously, this is not as good because it is limited. You have things like Dismember. This is 1 generic, 4 life, same kind of scenario. You're going to lose more life doing this than that. This is instant speed. This is also instant speed. This will destroy any creature. This is limited to anything with a 5 defense and less. Any of the other black ones I can think of, don't use Slaughter Pact. You can use, oh my God, I'm forgetting all of the black removal spells. This by and by at 2 CMC, what is the one that's Go for the Throat? Right? I'm just trying to look at its competition to give us a clear idea as to whether this is good or not. I think Go for the Throat is the primary competitor to this card in the 2 CMC slot, right? And we'll go for the other art. Let's go for the other art. Okay, it's better. 1 generic, 1 black, instant speed, destroy target non-artifact creature. Well, I can tell you from my experience, the amount of artifact creatures on the battlefield are very limited. right? So this isn't as much of a detriment so far as targeting is concerned. The loss of 2 life isn't a huge deal breaker, but I do think that this could be one of the better removal spells in a mono black list so far as creatures are concerned, for sure. Not the best, but up there. Certainly playable, but I wouldn't necessarily want to run it in a list outside of mono black, right? But you tell me, is there a list that really would savor this? A Villainous Reanimator deck. Kill the thing, lose the life, draw 2 cards. But that's Infernal Grasp. Are we ready to move on? I think I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on. I'm seeing things that Fatal Push is up there. Tevesh Arden may make it work with tokens or cheap high power creatures. Are we referring to Mask of Grizzlebrand? Potentially. Mask of Grizzlebrand in a Tevesh shell. I mean, Tevesh just makes the carrier die. You're absolutely right? And then you would lose life and draw cards, and you're drawing cards, and your cards are good. Tevesh draws cards, though, right? Tevesh is drawing cards anyway, so not to say that more cards isn't better, but I don't think this is the route we want to take to do that. I think someone might have mentioned Skull Clamp. I would still even say that in most scenarios, the Skull Clamp would just be better, right? Because Arden's a 2/2, correct? So, like, are you... And again, this doesn't buff the creature. Like, it's just whatever it was. So Arden is still a 2/2. So Skull Clamp on Arden is the same as this Mask on Arden, and yet I don't have to lose life for this to occur, right? So just use Skull Clamp, prioritize this. I think that Mask of Grizzlebrand is going to be so low on the priority list that it's probably not worth putting in the 99 of that particular deck. But again, I could be wrong. What dies Tevesh do again? Tevesh allows you may sacrifice a creature, and then you'll draw 2 cards if it's a non-commander, and you draw 3 cards if it is a commander, right? I'm phrasing this very awkwardly, but you may sacrifice another creature. It's a may effect, and you have the potential to draw up to 3 cards. So you can actually use an effect like Claim the Firstborn, take someone's Najeela, eat the Najeela, and draw 3 cards, right? That's actually really cool. It doesn't matter whose commander it was, you ate a commander. All right, we're moving on to red. Red does have cards. So get hyped. We get to talk about a handful of things here. The first one I want to talk about, I landed on right here. This is an honorary mention, is Ardent Elementalist. So anytime you see an Eternal Witness effect outside of green, it's a good day. Because Eternal Witness, you might have noticed, is in a lot of lists containing green. Because it is one of the better pieces of recursion in the sense that you can go from graveyard to hand in the game. It's a very good card. So unlike Anarchist, who exists in red, that's 4 generic and 1 red, we have Ardent Elementalist, that's 3 generic, 1 red, creature, human, shaman, 2/1 body, and when it ETBs, you can return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Anarchist only does one of these 2 things. This is actually quite good. I just want to be on the lookout for more cards like this, and you should as well, because the lower this cost is, the more playable it is. This is actually really good to see in red, and I hope we see more of these effects. And if you don't know who Anarchist is, I don't think it's been printed in a while, or at least the copy I have is old. It's from Odyssey. I have this one. But yeah, this is essentially the same thing, except it only retrieves sorceries. But you can actually combo with this card, provided you're in a list that leverages this, Dockside Extortionist, and Twin Flame, right? You can make an infinite army of Dockside Extortionist and Anarchist, and the same is true for Ardent Elementalist. It's actually really good. So don't sleep on these effects. I think that her cost is too high to go in your average cEDH deck, but I want to see more of this. Okay. The other card I want to discuss, just one card, is Cathartic Pyre. So for 1 generic, 1 red, instant speed, choose 1. Cathartic Pyre deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Options. We like options on the 99. Discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. So if you were at 5, you would only ever go back up to 4, but this is a really good way to not only fill your grave by looting, rummaging rather in this instance. Red will never have as good a card quality effect as blue. It's always worse to have to discard before drawing always worse. However, you do get to put viable reanimate targets into your graveyard and hopefully pull into solutions if the game comes to this point. It's essentially like a faithless looting at instant speed with the option of removing a large threat. 3 defense is actually a big deal in a lot of situations. 3 is going to hit many of your general targets in a cEDH setting. And planeswalkers, like, you can pick off that planeswalker that people have been trying to deal with. Like, this is really, really good, versatile companion to your Abrade, to your typical removal suite in a red list. This is actually really good. It's a card you should own a copy of. It's going to be 40 cents and under. It's not going to be very expensive, I hope, unless it's played in another format. I don't know if there's a relevancy to this card. I mean, because it's not pinging people, but this is really good removal in a commander setting. And that's really it for red, in my opinion. Universally good cards, right? With one noteworthy mention, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. What red cards did you want to discuss? Same CMC is Archaeomancer, less restrictive to cast. Do people run Archaeomancer? Do people run Archaeomancer? I guess there's combos with Archaeomancer. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Obviously, like, Eternal Witness being 3 CMC is just the creme de la creme. Retrieve anything is absurd, you know? Like, I don't know if another color is going to get that verbatim, but that is very close and just something of note. So yeah, pick at that Tevesh player. Seriously, pick at the Tevesh. I see a lot of Teferis. Annihilate the Teferi or try to annihilate that Teferi. Oko is still a lingering threat. It's just really good removal. Smack that Oko. But yeah, I like it a lot. Let me see here. Cathartic Pyre reads as a modern card to me. Don't know how to evaluate an EDH cards properly yet. James, that's interesting. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Obviously, the versatility of something like Abrade is still going to be a cut above. There's not going to be very many instances where 3 damage will solely take out a Planeswalker, but provided that Planeswalker is there long enough and inhibiting enough people, it will be the target of attacks. And it is something that you can hopefully help remove with this 2 CMC spell, you know, let alone any other hate bears that are on the battlefield. Or if there's just a Najeela that's going to pop off, or they're using the Derevi, right? Derevi is also 3 defense. Derevi, 2/3, right? So, and I'm just thinking of common things that I see. This is going to be good at killing those threats. So understanding your opponent's list, what are the core cards, what are the defense values, will help you better assess this. But the card quality effect on the bottom half of this is actually really good late game, provided you need it and there aren't really any relevant threats. So it's usually really good. Let's get Hewitt in blue. Stop, Trent. I run Archaeomancer in my Bolus deck, but that's high casual, not cEDH. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I could see Archaeomancer there. And I've seen people run Archaeomancer as a combo card in various lists. You're absolutely right. It's a blue card if you've never seen this. I always thought she was 3 though. But you're right. She's 2 generic and double blue and human wizard. So this is like a valid tribal because you can actually find her with a wizard cycling, right? So that's not so bad. Is this also a wizard? You're a wizard, Harry. No, shaman. This might have been what someone was referring to, like a less relevant tribal here. Kalia could experiment with it. Moonveil Regent as decent draw engine in multicolored commanders. A Moonveil Regent. We'll look at that before we move on. So Moonveil Regent is a little bit of an oddity. It's in a weird CMC spot. Right, so Moonveil Regent for 3 generic, 1 red, creature, dragon, 4/4 body, flying. When you cast a spell, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw a card for each of that spell's colors. So you can really hurt yourself here, but you're in the color of red. So discarding your hand is really good fuel for your Underworld Breach. And let's not pretend that that is not the prevailing strategy for many a red list in the world of Commander right now. Underworld Breach is the creme de la creme. This is something that ties in with that. The latter half of this card is less relevant, but when Moonveil Regent dies, it deals X damage to any target. X is the number of colors among permanents you control. This is just okay, right? We're not too concerned with that. So speaking of Underworld Breach, if you want, and you're in Gruul, this is something I conjured for the Discord. Do I think that this is something you should do? No. Okay. But if you have Underworld Breach, Moonveil Regent, and Manamorphose, cast Manamorphose. Any split cost spell with Moonveil Regent is going to be fairly decent because, oh, I can draw up to 2 cards for this. And oh, Manamorphose lets me draw a card. This is just a good old-fashioned Storm card, Manamorphose. So Manamorphose is unique in that if I were to cast Manamorphose and just say generate 2, 1 red, 1 green, 2 green, it doesn't matter in this instance, you're always going to have the mana to cast Manamorphose from your graveyard. You're discarding your hand of 3 cards to fuel into your Underworld Breach. So provided you've had a graveyard at this point, Manamorphose turns from a decent Storm card, and still in this instance a really decent Storm card because you're building that Storm count as you're casting this from your graveyard, but you will not only replenish your hand from Moonveil Regent's triggered ability, but Manamorphose, fuel the breach, play the card. You're not going up mana, right? It's almost like the other situation with the Lord we just looked at, the black card, right? That there are better alternatives to that card, Grinding Station in particular. Grinding Station's a better alternative here, but this is something you can do, right? It is a combo card, but it is a niche one. One of the reasons I didn't bring it up. But I think it's just okay. Again, I wouldn't necessarily want to run this over anything else. It's a May to discard your hand and draw, X cards. So if this is in a list that's 5 colors and you have a 5-color commander, maybe that's something that you can leverage and do, and that would be okay. But I don't know if Moonveil Regent is going to cut it for majority of list. Okay. Can you look at Curse of Obsession? I think I can. I think we can. If it's in red. So if I passed it, I'm sorry. Well, you can ask me about it in the comment section because we're gonna move on from red now. Bloodthirsty Adversary. Okay. One last card. Another in the adversary cycle. 1 generic, 1 red, creature, vampire, 2/2 body, haste. When Bloodthirsty Adversary enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 generic and 1 red any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many +1/+1 counters on Bloodthirsty. Okay, just like the other one. Then exile up to that many target instants and or sorcery cards with a mana value of 3 or less from your graveyard and copy them. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana cost. So there is a card that I always recommend in red that I feel is probably better than this. Give me 1 second. It's Daring? No. Dire Fleet, Daredevil. I think that Dire Fleet Daredevil, in most situations, is a better form of this because I can... Let's just read it. So for 1 generic, 1 red, creature, human, pirate, first strike, when Dire Fleet Daredevil enters the battlefield, exile target instant or sorcery from an opponent's graveyard. So you're not just rifling through your own graveyard, right? Is this only yours? Right? Then exile many cards from your graveyard, right? So I've got the pick of the litter, and you may cast it this turn, and you may spend mana as though it were any mana, any type to cast that spell. If that spell would be put into the person's graveyard, exile it instead. So not only am I... Let's just say that I am conscious that this person is on an Underworld Breach package. I can get rid of their Demonic Tutor from their graveyard, get value from their Demonic Tutor by paying 2 of any color. So I'm already spending less than I would for this adversary. And they're also having to exile this instead. So they will never get to leverage their Demonic Tutor on the Underworld Breach cast, which is probably going to stunt them. And I'm getting the benefit of using their own tutor, on turn. So I think that Dire Fleet Daredevil is what I'm going to advise you use instead of this. But this is fine. I think this is okay. I don't know if this really deserves to be a mythic. I think that in a different setting, this is probably better. But I would stick with Direfleet Daredevil in a commander setting. It's just doing a little bit more for me. You don't need to... I don't know how many times you're going to pay 2 generic and 1 red. It's got to be a very particular package to want to leverage that. Also coupled with the fact that... I don't know. I find Direfleet Daredevil to be better. You guys can let me know, though. What do you think is better? I think that you should probably stick with that instead. I own 2 copies of this girl. I really love this card. I think it's underutilized, but definitely just bear that in mind. Okay. Curse of Obsession is one of the Commander exclusive cards. Are you looking at those today? Timothy and viewers, if you are interested in hanging tight with me after this, then we can just take a gander at the handful of Commander cards that have been spoiled thus far, and we can chat about them. And we'll do that, let's just say post-credits. But let's move on to our next color, because we still got a lot of cards to cover, and it's 407 right now, babies. We gotta move. We gotta get a move on. There's only one green card I want to discuss today, and of course anything you mention we can talk about, but Turn the Earth. Now, this is an honorable mention of anything because I want to give green something, but for 1 green, Turn the Earth, instant speed, choose up to 3 target cards in graveyards. Right, so it's not a singular graveyard, it's any number of graveyards. It's your graveyard, that person's graveyard at the other table. The owners of those cards shuffle them into their libraries. You gain 2 life. And you can also flashback this. So, yes, I think the majority of the rhetoric when this was announced was, hey, you can stop Athos' Oracle. And I'm like, yeah, it's sad that, our minds just always gravitate to that. But you could stop Athos' Oracle with Turn the Earth. But it's fine recovery. For your own deck, obviously you're stunting someone else's strategy, potentially. I think for the most part, though, I'm looking at this as like a decent recovery piece for one of my green tutors, and potentially stopping Athos' Oracle. Sure, that's fine. But are there any green cards that you want to discuss? I'm gonna take a swig of water. I'm gonna get to them right now. Adversary Cycle probably should have been rare, but for draft, I can kind of get the mythic rarity. I think they're going to be fine. Again, this isn't a Commander exclusive set. I keep reiterating that. So we just need to curb our anticipation of these cards, right? Any non-Commander set, we should really just curb our expectations of what we're going to be taking in. Not every set is going to have something golden for Commander. We did get a handful of things here, though, so I'm shocked at all. But was there anything else you guys want to talk about in green? Green was kind of just okay. It's very sad to state. I think many of these were sort of talked to death already. The only other one was the legendary. How do you feel about Augur of Autumn? Man, I really like Augur of Autumn, and I just wish this Coven mechanic is not good. It's not good. But for 1 generic, double green, 2/3 body human druid, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands from the top of your library. So this is a Courser of Crewfix, right? I think Courser of Crewfix is 3 CMC. As long as you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you may cast creature spells from the top of your library as well. So this is really good. This fits into the realm of really good if you know that you can actively get Coven on this card. As it stands, I don't really see this. Maybe in a dedicated Savala list might be able to leverage this, because then you can use something like a Sylvan Tutor and really get the world out of it. But this is going to be very much for a dedicated list and not universally good. I think it's fine. And I really wish they didn't add so many damned restrictions to some of these effects. For a rare slot card, it feels underpowered. Because Coven, it's not going to go off that often, at least in a Commander setting. And hopefully in a limited setting or any of the other formats, it'll be useful. But I don't see Augur of Autumn being very good in Commander, sadly. Unnatural Growth is great in Stumpy Casual. We'll see if that's true. Oh yeah, no, you're right. Oh my gosh, yeah, this is a. I like this card a lot. The Timmy in me likes this card a whole lot. One generic, and 1, 2, 3, 4 green, 5 CMC total. Enchantment at the beginning of each combat, rather, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until the end of turn. Is this good? Yeah, it's pretty good. And now, obviously, and you can say in the same instance, like, oh, Savala wants this, make all of the mana. And it's until end of turn, not end of combat, right? So you can actually leverage this with some of your sorcery speed as additional cost to play this card, sacrifice a creature, draw cards based off the creature's power, like a Life's Legacy. But there are instant speed effects that would also leverage this well. But, you know, like if you're trying to get the most out of your creatures, maybe. I think that you're right in assuming, though, that this is probably better for a stompy, casual kind of setting. I don't think that the cEDH player is going to need this necessarily, but it is a thing you can do. And it's a really cool effect. I actually really like it. Coven is difficult in Elves, but good in Savala. I agree. I think just because the power fluctuation that you are able to put in a Savala deck, you could probably dictate how it will work. Jen's Kid says, can use Turn the Earth to protect yourself if you run Sultithe Oracle. I believe it. I believe it. Coven is weird. Did we look at Sereth Viper Fangs? Really fun as a Shalai alternative in creature-heavy Rule of Law decks. I'll look at this card, and this will be the last one we look at in green, but I'm sorry, you said Sereth Viper's Fang, right? Okay, so Sereth, cool ass art. Is that a giant lotus anaconda? 2 generic double green, human warlock, 3/4 body. It's pretty big. It's pretty big. Other tapped creatures you control have death touch. Okay. This is to say any creature that's attacking has death touch. Any tapped thing has death touch. So if I swing with my Walking Ballista, that is now a 5/5. I don't know how I got there. I don't know. It's a 5/5 though. I can remove counters from Walking Ballista and blam, death touch. You dead. That's actually kind of cool. So this is kind of a cute utility in like a Marath list, or a cute utility in a deck that's leveraging pingers. And I mean specifically of the Marath, Triskelion, Walking Ballista type. That ilk. Other untapped creatures you control have hexproof, so offers a little bit of protection. Now, Sereth would have been so good. Pay 1, tap, untap another target creature or land you control. Okay. Well, damn. Here's what she could have been in the command zone. Here's what she could have been. Let's just look at what could have been. Imagine Seeker of Skybreak in the command zone that also targets lands. If you had that and Illusionist Bracers or anything that's going to allow you to duplicate what you're doing with your commander, whenever an ability of equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy that ability. That's a average Seeker of Skybreak, Kiora's Follower, basic untappy combo. If you had that in the command zone with Gaia's Cradle, it could have been good. Even a City of Traders, right? And you do that for enough generic, and then you would have the infinite generic to filter into your basic forest to make infinite green, and then you could just do stupid things. But alas, another target creature. That's where I'm going to stop with Sereth. It was very, very disappointing to read that one word. You couldn't just fucking give it to us. It's mono green. It's mono green. You couldn't just give it to us. Hashtag unban Rafellos. Moving on. Multicolored cards. So we actually have a handful of multicolored cards to discuss. And the first one I'm going to speak on is my boy, Flo. Voldaren Scion. For 1 generic, black-red, legendary creature, vampire noble, 3/3 Bade. First strike. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the total amount of life your opponents lost this turn. Stop. Did you crack a fetch? Life loss. I swung at you, life loss. And you tapped Ancient Tomb like a dummy. Life loss. It doesn't matter how the person lost life. Lightning Bolt, life loss. Exile one of those cards and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may play the exiled card this turn. So conceptually, you have a really unique potential legendary commander that is leveraging mass damage. Any form of everyone takes one damage, almost like Belby, right? Like if I had my Night Market Lookout and I swung with a Night Market Lookout, I cast Valerin, I can do 1 damage to every opponent. That's 3, dig 3 already. And any of those effects stacked up, you just dig. You dig through your list. And if you look at the wealth of Rakdosian cards that just do damage on a massive scale for like next to nothing CMC-wise, you can actually dig really deep. So Florian, while I haven't brewed anything for Flow myself, I'm definitely interested. Like this is a very cool niche strategy that I think is leaning you in a particular direction so far as how you'll design the list and obviously play it. I like it a lot. Do I think it's better than what else is out there in Rakdos? No, but it's a new option for us, and I really think that this can sing. I like what they're doing with impulse drawing, impulse casting, right? This whole exile, do the thing. I want to see more of that, and Flow is like the general of that strategy. Very, very, very cool. I like this a whole lot. And I don't think Flow is going to be the main target of anyone, ever. So at least you know that you'll be able to get away with having this on the battlefield. It's not going to be the thing that's Gilded Draked. It's not going to be the thing that's prioritized with removal. You should be able to generally play for the strategy and hopefully get around your opponents. And in my mind, just, you know, if there are bigger threats at the table, there usually are, I think Flow will get away with it. I really like Flow a lot. The next multicolored card I want to speak on, there's 3 more. Obviously, we're going to cover all of these, and then I'll get to your remarks. But old Stick Fingers. I honestly thought that that was a joke when they said the name was Old Stick Fingers. It's not. X. Golgari. To my Golgari boy. Any Golgari boys in the house? Any Golgari girls? Let me know. Legendary creature horror. Asterisk, asterisk body. We all know the general strategy for this card. I'm going to read it off and then we'll discuss anything you can do with this. There's a lot of things you can do with this. It's just a combo enabler pending you have enough mana. You hit the critical mass and you have a reanimate spell. Whatever your strategy. There's a ton of things you can do with this. And I was actually referring to this at the very beginning of this video. So if you didn't catch on to the beginning of this video, I talk about a Rot Hulk strategy. There's definitely stuff you can do outside of Necrotic Ooze. When you cast a spell, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards. Put all the creature cards revealed this way into your graveyard, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Now, I'm going to imagine that you don't know anything about Old Stick Fingers, right? So that's where I'm going to be coming from when I guide you through this combo. Old Stick Fingers' power and toughness are equal to, doesn't matter. You're going to need 6 mana. Old Stick Fingers. X equals 3, right? So that's 5. You're going to dump Necrotic Ooze. And let's just say we want to do, my favorite thing right now is Asmodeus and Scourge Familiar, but I think in this instance it would just be better to say Phyrexian Devourer and Walking Ballista. Take your pick. It could be this or Triskelion, but one or the other. Reanimate Necrotic Ooze. You have the ability of Phyrexian Devourer to exile the top card of your library, put that many +1/+1 counters equal to its CMC on Phyrexian Devourer, Necrotic Ooze. Necrotic Ooze also now has the effect of Trisket or Walking Ballista in removing +1/+1s, pinging things. Now this will require you have a certain threshold in the CMC department to damage out 40, 80, 120, right? And we're going to pretend that we're going to do this on turn 1, right? The goal is to do this as quickly as possible because this is a very volatile strategy. And if you're playing Old Stick Fingers, I'm willing to bet everyone at the table is going to know that you are trying to lay up this combo. So do it quickly, eliminate them. It's going to be 120 and under, right? They'll likely have played a fetch or have done something, so you don't need to do that much damage. But that's Old Stick Fingers in a nutshell. There's other combos with this card. Maybe it's something we build on the channel. I'd love to see your list if you built an Old Stick Fingers list, and let me know how it's been performing for you if you watch this video after the fact. I'm curious to know if Old Stick Fingers has lived up to your expectations. And I know a lot of people have already brewed for it and are playing it, so Definitely let me know in the comments. Rite of Harmony. Isn't there another card just like this? Let's read it anyways. For 1 green, 1 white, instant speed. Whenever a creature or enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, this turn, draw a card. Oh my god, Siona. Siona, the draw engine of your dreams. It's right here. But isn't this just like Glimpse of Nature, Pat? Whenever you play a creature spell this turn, draw a card. Right? So this is on the cast. This is on the ETB. Oh, this is better in many instances because it doesn't matter where that creature's coming from so long as they enter the battlefield. Is this something I'm putting in my set this deck? Probably. The instant speed aspect is also very good for this. Also, the flashback aspect of this is very good. Yes, is it 1 more mana than the other card? Yeah. But in a list that's dedicated to creatures and enchantments, this is really good. More is more in terms of draw. At least I'm finding that to be the case with my Sithis deck. I will definitely add Rite of Harmony and Sithis. Now, the last card I want to talk about before I get to your questions, comments, concerns, all that good stuff, is Siphon. Insight. Oh, what did she do to those poor sailors? Or that at least one poor Innistradian? That's a sailor cap, right? Anyways, it's Dimir, instant speed. It's Dimir. Look at the top 2 cards of target opponent's library. Exile one of them face down and put the other on the bottom of their library. You may look at and play exiled card for as long as it remains exiled. A really good effect. And you may spend mana as though it were any mana of any color to cast that spell. This also has a flashback cost of just 1 generic more than it originally costed. Really, really good. This is fine top deck removal, like any sort of top deck tutor. It's a good way to counter that effect, right? Your Vampiric Tutor, your Imperial Seal. It's going to be a mana crypt in most instances, and at least you're removing that from them, right? So it's a cool way to strip any sort of top deck tutor effect, but it's also just good to leverage by and by. I think looking at the top 2 seems negligible, but if you're understanding that, that Sensei's Divining Top, it organized it in such a way that you can fathom there's something useful on top, well, then Siphon Insight's going to hit what you want in most instances. But this is really just that top deck counter, not a counter, but you get what I'm saying. Is it the best card in Dimir? Not necessarily, but I think it's definitely a playable one. Now, I'm going to drink water. I'm going to look at your comments. Golgari boy right here. Likewise. I love Golgari. I don't do enough Golgari, but I like Golgari. Just waiting for old stick fingers. Who needs a name anyways? Yeah, let me know who needs a name. If you play stick fingers, let me know. There's a ton of combos you can incorporate. I think Necrotic Ooze, the price on that card's probably going to spike a little bit with the interest, but I don't foresee Necrotic Ooze really gravitating high. It's not a very common strategy, but it obviously works very well with stick fingers because it's just a great way to bury your utilities and still keep and leverage the rest of the cards of your deck. Like, not everything is milled in this instance or exiled, right? So it's actually quite good. May I ask why Flow is better than Prosper Tomebound? Did anyone make that claim? Did someone say that Flow is better than Prosper Tomebound? Is it because Prosper is 4 CMC? Prosper was a new card from a recent Commander set, right? Prosper. Tom Prosper. Yes, the Forgotten Realms. Okay, cool. This is very not too dissimilar to what Flow is doing, right? I mean, Flow, very different in its depth, but at the beginning of your end step, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your turn, you may play that card. What's more unique, in my earnest opinion, in regards to Prosper is Pact Boon. Whenever you play a card from exile, create a treasure token. So you are ramping and giving yourself the capability of casting more things from exile. So let's just say that we've done Jessica's Will. Jessica's Will, those 3 cards are exiled, and you may cast them from exile, right? And you're going to Pact Boon each one of those. So Prosper is a wholly different utility in my mind. Yes, it's doing the impulse thing, but it's different. Whereas if we were to build a Florian list specifically tailored to cast one or two things, and the bulk of that deck was constructed to just spread damage, life loss, on a regular basis. One, you're doing the general strategy of Commander, which is to eliminate your opponents via life loss. And two, you're also benefiting yourself by giving yourself a larger dig, right? And then you'll find the cards you need to cast. You'll find the things you want to do. It's a different strategy. I don't know if someone said that this was better than Prosper, but yeah, they exist. I like Flow a lot. I think that this is the one I would want to build. I think that you could add Prosper to it though, and that would be fine. Liesa is amazing. All right, we'll look at Liesa. And I'm sorry if I missed anyone's suggestions, but we'll look at Liesa now. Sebastian. For 2 generic, 1 black, a double white. Legendary creature, angel, flying lifelink. Oh my god, it's almost like the helmet of the dude, right? Is it flying lifelink? 4/5. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Who needs your Into the Royal? I'll just let it die. I'll just let it die, son. And then, if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. This is not bad. So the bottom effect is not too unlike something like a Samurai of the Pale Curtain, right? If a permanent would be put into a graveyard, remove it from the game instead. This is clearly better. But having this effect is very generous on the back end of Liesa, because it's a good way to say, no, stop trying to reanimate the Dockside Extortionist. No, the things you just milled are gone now, right? Creature-wise. The big to-do would be Thassa's Oracle in many cases. But it's also good for stopping like a Buried Alive, because what hurts is that it's not the same in one instance. That this doesn't care how they went into the graveyard, whereas this does care. So stopping like an unmarked grave, an entomb, a Buried Alive pile, not so much. But this is a good way to remove general threats that are on the board that you're clearing. But yeah, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card. This is interesting recursion. The fact that it's the beginning of your next end step sort of hampers this in a certain extent, because you're not going to be able to leverage it on the same turn with immediacy, unless that thing had flash, I guess. And there was another trigger on your end step. No, end step. You get priority at the end there. Yeah, this is fine. I think that there are certain things you could do with Liesa. I would be interested in seeing how you brew for this. Jen's kid says maybe Flo has a good Doomsday pile. Shit. Probably. I mean, I would imagine with Flo you want to end the game inevitably. But what's cool about Flo is that the strategy isn't consistent with what you see in Rakdos generally anyway. So like you're able to leverage things like Grafdigger's Cage or Leyline of the Void. Not Grafdigger's Cage, what? Actually, some of the stuff that hates on other general strategies in Rakdos is what I'm trying to say. But cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. And Flo says exile one of them, and then you may play the exiled card this turn. So like a Drannith Magistrate would stop you, but this won't stop you, right? So you can run a Grafdigger's Cage and still leverage Flo's ability. Also, you can do things like Leyline of the Void, right? You can hate on areas, zones that are generally played for, like Underworld Breach cares about the graveyard, yada, yada, yada. You can run this, you can run Planner Void, you can do stuff that you wouldn't typically do in a Rakdos deck, which I like Grafdigger's Cage. No one generally runs Grafdigger's Cage in Rakdos, but you could with Flo because he doesn't care about that strategy. Yo, check the card above Liesa. Hungry for more? All right, Christian. Will do. Okay, so for Rakdos, sorcery speed, create a, I've seen this. Create a 3/1 black and red vampire creature token with trample, lifelink, and haste. Let's see if they make the token for that. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. I really hope they make a token for this. This is going to confuse a lot of new players. This useless 3/1 token. There's never going to be another token like this. Is this a common token? Or are there vampire tokens like this in existence already? But that's pretty gas. It's a pretty cool card. I don't know if it's a commander staple. I don't know if I'd use it in commander. But the body is generally good. And the flashback on this is pretty nice too. I actually like Hungry for More quite a bit. I love the art for this girl. Like, this is clearly the girl that's just like noshing on all these people. Very cool concept. I love the flow of the art. I love the effect. It's great. Yeah, check the card above. Wait, what is that? Ludwig Blighted Agent is pretty fun. And Ludwig is the last one we'll look at so far as multicolored cards are concerned. Ludwig is right. It's not, am I missing him? Hold up. I swear to God, I just saw him. Am I crazy? There's a new legendary commander that you can play with. Why am I... Okay. Lud. What's this guy? I don't know why he's not showing up. It should be like right here. Anyways, this is new from the set. So Ludwig and Blighted Agent is pretty fun. So for 1 blue, 1 black, Dimir, human wizard 2/3 body. When Ludwig enters the battlefield or attacks, mill a card. Okay, that's interesting. Pay X and double blue, double black, a lot of mana. And guess what? X can't be 0 for this one. Exile X creature cards from your graveyard. Transform Ludwig. X can't be 0. I just said that. Activate only a sorcery. Sure. And you make Olag. So when it transforms, it becomes a copy of the creature card exiled with it, except its name is Olag. It's a 4/4. It's a legendary blue. It's in general copyable effects. It will take on all the characteristics, but this is just basically slating that it's Olag with the abilities of this thing. Put a +1/+1 counter on Olag equal to the number of creature cards exiled with it. So it's a very beefy creature. Obviously, the general game plan here would be to like, you would have your graveyard filled at this point, and then this is sort of your bomb for the turn. But I don't know what the general game plan with Blighted Agent is. Maybe this is amazing. I'm curious. Oh. Infect and Unblockable. So we are trying to bring Infect to the world. I see. Okay. That is pretty cool. Damn. Yeah. I mean, you'd probably want to pump... You want to get to 10, right? You want to do 10 poison? That's kind of cool. You need to eat a lot more creatures. My only qualm with Ludwig is that I don't think it should have been X... Blue, blue, black, black. That's just very, very demanding. I understand that this is a 2/3 for 2, but I don't know if the cost should have been that high, and I don't know if it needed to be limited to sorcery speed. So it's just okay in my book. But I agree, that's an interesting plan of attack. Yeah, I agree with you. Ludwig is the transform card. It's just not showing up here. Should it not? It's multicolored, right? And it's not a commander. No, it's from the set. That's very odd. I hope we're not missing anything from here. Anyways, moving on. Artifacts. I have 1. You only need to think of the 1. Moonsilver Key. Easily one of the best cards from this set. Kind of a slam dunk for a lot of list. Ramp is really good. 2 generic. Artifact. Pay 1. Tap it. Sacrifice Moonsilver Key. Search your library for an artifact card with a mana ability or a basic land card, because don't we love ramp? Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So anything with a mana ability. So Phyrexian Altar, Card Clan Ironworks, Lion's Eye Diamond, Chromatic Sphere, Mana Vault, Mana Crypt, Grim Monolith, Soul Ring. What do you want? Mox Tantalite. You can get it all, right? And a basic planes. It's a really good card. It's a very, very good card. Any new tutors we receive to hand are good. And this one helps us a lot because it's going to allow us to ramp. It's fantastic. I like this a whole lot. I'm not sure it's It's not going to slot into every deck, but it's a good card to just have on the side. Like if you're picking up singles from this set, this is one I highly recommend you buy. It's not going to be very expensive. Again, it's one of those uncommons that I don't find is going to be of absurd value, but it's a very, very good card to just have in your arsenal. And I definitely encourage you to pick it up. But I'm curious, are there any other artifacts that you would like to discuss? Pithing Needle is a reprint. Yeah, any other ones you'd like to discuss? Oh, damn it, Jen's kid. Oh, yeah, it's double-faced. Ludwig's probably down here because it's double-faced. You are right. We're going to get to those in just a second. Or even the multi, yeah. Kill me if I don't see it. Yeah, it's right there. Thank you. Thank you. Artifacts, though. We're Scarab God. Probably. Yeah, we're Scarab God. They try to knock out the boy. If they kill him, no more blighted agent effect ability. Yeah, you're kind of just screwed at that point, I guess. Separate section, you said so yourself, Pat. God. Yeah, you're right. It's double-faced. I said so. I just totally forgot. I thought I was, again, on those crazy pills from earlier. This one, yeah, boy. Teshar, gang. It's a staple in Teshar. I wouldn't use it in Oswald. If you're curious, I'm not going to put Moon Silver Key in Oswald. It's not necessary. We're doing a lot of tutoring already. This is just a redundancy we don't need. Most of the artifacts in Oswald we want to cast and have them stick with a varying triggered effect or just constant effect and or activated ability that's useful. This sacrificing itself hurts us because we need artifacts on the battlefield. So we're not on this in Oswald, but hell yes in Teshar. Any mana rock? Let's go. Any mana rock? Ashutosh? You want a mana rock? I'll give you one. The Celestis. This is okay. That's all I have to say. 3 generic legendary artifact. If it's neither night nor day, it becomes day as Celestis enters the battlefield. Tap it. Add 1 mana of any color. Pay 3. If it's not night, it becomes day. Otherwise, it becomes night. But if it was already day, it becomes night. If it's afternoon, don't worry about it. When it's mid-evening, turn it to night. Activate only as a sorcery. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you gain 1 life. You may draw a card. That's not confusing new players. God, what? Surveil. Evergreen. Another petition. Let's go. Make it evergreen. The fuck? What is this? What? You may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. You get to loot. It's almost like you're playing blue. And you can add mana to your mana pool. Do you care about legendary artifacts? Maybe. It looks like that Soul Ring promo. And then we're moving on. It looks like this Soul Ring promo. Am I wrong? Is it the same artist? Is it the same artist? Not that one. I forgot this one exists. I like that art. Not that. Wow, I guess there's just that many Soul Rings, huh? This one. Mark Teeden. Not Mark Teeden. Okay. Anyways. Hey, 5/5 beater you can find with colorless. Are you referring to the bear? The bear is 4/4. We're close though. Cultivator Caravan? Cultivator Caravan? These don't exist here. I hate this mechanic. Me too. I'm gonna put Moon Silver Key on Urza, and I think that would make sense. Moving on to lands, there are no lands of note. Except for the great art here. Easily the best of the mountains. Easily. Easily. These look really good. I want these lands. These are the definition of slow lands. You probably don't want to run them. But also good art. Thank you for your work. All right, double-face cards. We have 3 to discuss, and then maybe, just maybe, if you're interested, we can talk about some sweet Commander Innistrad spoils. I don't have any new for you. WotC doesn't like me like that. Maybe one day. But the first one I want to talk about is, as promised, Malevolent Hermit. Okay. 1 generic, 1 blue, creature human wizard, 2/1 body, pay 1, sacrifice Malevolent Hermit, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3. That is pretty damn good. That's pretty good. That's not bad to have on the field, but what's this? Disturb. Is this a new keyword? 2 generic, 1 blue? I can cast this from my transfer. Okay, what's it do? Who's this crazy looking? What is this guy? What he's just fucking geeking. Look at this guy. He's like excited. Look at that face. He just had like a weird spiritual orgasm. All right, 2/2 body flying. Non-creature spells you control can't be countered. That's pretty good. That's pretty. Fuck your Grand Abolisher. That's good. This is good. Grand Abolisher, my turn. How about any turn non-creature spells I control can't be countered? Is that cool? If it would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. I have Into the Royal in my deck. I have flicker effects. Oh, you thought you were done with this asshole? Flicker it. Do it again. Disturb it. Shit's non-counterable again. Yes, it's very good. Don't we wish that every color got a decent disturb creature? They didn't. Okay. Poppet Stitcher. I really like this. I like this for a few reasons, and we'll talk about them. 2 generic. 1 blue. Creature, human wizard. God, look at that Poppet. 2/3 body. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Decayed just means that when it attacks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. It can't block. Oh, but its wording's right there. Like they could have done with Surveil. You like that? I'm going to keep hitting this home. Hope you watch this, Watsy. I hope you watch this one. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more creature tokens, you may transform Poppet Stitcher. So Storm, off turn. My turn? What do I get? Give me a creature tokens. You control lose all abilities. So no more Decayed. Right? It's a keyword, like Surveil. And have a base power and toughness of 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may transform Poppet Factory because you weren't done making Poppets. So leverage them 3/3s when you can. Flip it over. It's okay. It's a new tapped 2/2 black zombie with Decayed. But I'm going to go into this shit again later. This is really cool for an odd go wide blue strategy. I think just putting damage on the board is great. So anytime I have a way to leverage that, it's really cool. This just feels like a very weird blue card. A very interesting good one, but very weird blue card. Anyways. Last one I want to discuss in our double face category. Outland Liberator. For 1 generic, 1 green. Oh, she's helping that poor little wolf. Human werewolf. Pay 1, sacrifice Outland Liberator. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. So it's just like our Cathar Commando. But this is only when it's day-bound. But when it's night, just hold still. I'll help you. Yeah, she did more than that. Frenzied Trap Breaker, 3/3 body, same effect as before, but when she attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. Blue, Kosali Pride Mage, step aside. There's a new thing with fangs in town. Anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the double-faced cards from the set. Hit me up. Is there anything else you want to talk about? There's a wide category of cards here. So let's talk about them before we get to our sweet, sweet Commander spoils thus far with an exclusive not from me for you. Okay. I like the Mural Mountains from Mirrodin best, says Jen's kid. Trent, my problem is it makes my zombie tokens from Scarab weaker with non-abilities if we had something relevant. Which is why I'm not high on it. Well, I mean, if you're not on Scarab God, then this is pretty gas. Like, if you're on any strategy generating any number of tokens, like, you're a desecrated tomb, I want all the bats, and now they're frickin' 3/3s. Right? It's very good for other It's, man, don't I wish Adeline was Azorius. Because then, those 1/1 humans, they're going to come in as 3/3s. Oh my god, if she was Azorius. They really thought this one through. They said, no, we're not going to give you anything of value. We don't want you to have value. Anyways. Verena will be awesome. Will she? Okay. I'm gonna find her. Is Verena... What color's Verena? Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, Lord. Okay, so, Verena, not a card. Am I mistaken? Did I read that wrong? Am I just not... Is it not from this set? Or is this... Okay. What's the site your owns links? What's the site your own links? Well, if you follow the link down below to TCG Player to pick up your singles packs and more, you'll be helping out the channel. But if you just want to follow along with me, you can just use it's in one of the links in the description. Okay. Another good flip card is that Simic Werewolf that lets you draw. Simic Werewolf that lets you draw. That sounds something... That sounds like something Blue would do. Simic Werewolf that lets you draw? I'm not seeing it, buddy. I ain't seeing it. Y'all just making up cards now? Okay. Are you talking about this guy? It's technically Simic. I was looking for a Simic card, but yes, this is green on the back. It's a stowaway. It's like that looter. Encore, that's the looter. There's a guy that does this as well. But for one generic, one blue, creature, human, rogue, werewolf, suspicious, stowaway, can't be blocked. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. 1/1 body. Oh, it's a 2/1 now. And much the same story. It's pretty dope. It's actually pretty good. It's not bad at all. Verena Lichquing. Front face is blue. Thank you, Spencer. Blue on the front, green on the back. Oh, yeah. Werewolf in blue starts out blue, turns into green. It's from another set. Sorry. No, you're fine. You want to speak of Olag and Tovalar. Olag and Tovalar. So I will speak of Tovalar, but let me just see if I can find Olag. Is Olag the name of its backend? No, that's this thing, right? Oh, we spoke on this. Okay, so Tovalar. Tovalar. We got a werewolf commander. And he's okay. For one generic and Gruul. 3/3 body. Human werewolf. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Oh my god, the synergy is unreal. Let's see how many good wolves and werewolves there are. I think, again, when we discussed this initially, this was not on this segment, wolf token generation, I think, was the main to do, in my earnest opinion. That's like the best strategy to go for because it gives you the most options, the biggest number of cards that will allow you to draw. It doesn't matter if they're token, non-token. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more wolves and or werewolves, it becomes night. And then transform any number of human werewolves you control. And then Tovalar the Midnight Scourge, same thing as before. Draw a card, draw cards. Drawing cards is good. Drawing cards is good. And then it's also a Kessig Wolf run without the detriment of having to tap it. So X, Gruul, target wolf or werewolf you control gets plus X plus O and gains trample until the end of turn. Well, guess what? This is a 4/4. Babies, you're gonna beef this boy up and do commander damage. I want to see the deck. If you also have a deck for this, I'm curious. I'd love to check it out. I'm not certain I'm interested in brewing for this. It feels, it's generic value. It's telling you to play with wolves and werewolves, and you draw cards, you pull into more solutions, you hopefully find some form of combo. It's just generic good value, and I think that's cool, but I'm not particularly interested in doing this myself. I would be interested in seeing someone else's deck, though, and seeing if it can pull in a win very easily. Obviously, draw is always good. So, go you, Tovalar. Go you. And my thing is, you can even leverage something like Bolt Bend, maybe, because the back end of this is going to be a 4. There's some cool utilities that are ferocious, right, for attack power or more that you can leverage in this deck, but only when Tovalar's flipped. Okay. Stowaway could slot In the farm list, I'm sure it could. I'm sure it could. I doubt it's great, but the egg looks fun. I'm all about fun. Smoldering egg. For one generic, one red creature dragon egg. This is bullshit. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure I don't think this one's difficult to do. But Defender, 0/4. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery, put an Ember counter, a number of Ember counters rather, equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell on the Smoldering Egg. And then if there are 7 or more... You would kill it though, right? Blasphemous act. Yeah. If you give it up, creatures you control can't be destroyed this turn. I'm just trying to find a way to fast track this, right? Any spell that has a high cost that can be convoked or depreciated, like reduced by some effect, that doesn't require you kill the egg, we'll flip it. And then when you do that, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Ashmouth Dragon deals 2 damage to any target. Dope. Extremely dope. I like this a lot. It's a 4/4 flyer. Very vanilla so far as dragons are concerned. And it would slot in well, in my opinion, with a Izzet deck. It's some sort of Izzet Storm Commander, right? This is very cool. I actually quite like this. It would probably go good with Vadric, the multicolored Izzet Commander that allows you to cost reduce, right? So this is actually quite good, especially if you're trying to do just general damage, a damage package. This is actually really cool. I like it a lot. We talked about OLAG already, but you can rewind if you want to see the discussion of OLAG. It was something that was brought up when we were discussing multicolored cards. Grand Warlord Rada and Keswick Wolf Run is better, says Jens. Ooh, damn. That sounds like a challenge. Not cEDH card, but a good casual card. Atla liked the omelet. Sure she would. Delve? Yeah, like a delve effect. Like a delve effect. Yeah, and again, if you did this in Izzet, there's some really decent delve effects in blue. So you'd be able to put a lot of Ember counters on this. If you put this in Galazeth, you can dig or Treasure Cruise. Treasure Cruise is dope. Also allows for any dragon synergy. Fact. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise are high CMC spells. Yeah, like stuff to just crack this immediately. Like we want to make that omelet now, right? We want it sunny side up. And then we want to start slinging 2 damage at anything. I really like this. I don't think it's going to be a priority for your opponents either. But I think at this point, to all of you viewers here now, I need to wrap up and start getting ready for my trip to Texas. But as a treat, because we're still here and I still have a glass of tequila, I'm going to close this out by thanking our patrons as I usually do. Hang tight, and then we'll discuss all the recent spoils from Commander Innistrad Midnight Hunt, the companion set to this. But as always, thank you, patrons. Thank you guys for making this possible. I am always excited to see new Patreon members, and I'm always happy when you guys join the Discord to talk. It's really what makes this show so enjoyable for me, the sense of community we have. If you're not on the Discord and are a member of the Patreon, please join. I love getting to speak with you guys. And of course, if you're a member of the 99 here on YouTube, definitely join the Discord, because you'll be missing out on future Brew Wars live segments. And we've actually got, spoiler alert, a really fun one set up ahead. Casually Competitive hasn't been putting out videos of recently. They're on a temporary hiatus, but I was able to drag a handful of their boys out for some live stream gameplay here on the channel. So if you like Casually Competitive and want to check out some live stream gameplay with their team, well, hang tight till the end of this month and you might see some. But I'm very, very excited for that. And of course, I'm really excited for this set. I am actually very interested in doing a pre-release. So again, if you happen to live in Texas, let me know. Perhaps we'll be in a near enough region to where we can play some games at your local game store. And I'd love to meet you if you're around. So with that, I'm going to pull this up. There aren't that many new cards spoiled as of yet, and if there are any Midnight Hunt Commander cards missing from this resource, we of course can pull them up on a different site, or you can just tell me about them and we can look at them that way. But One of the ones that was mentioned earlier on was Wilhelt Rotcleave. This is fine. I did discuss this a little bit, but this is a very interesting commander card because it's going to give you value with the draw, but also it allows you to leverage Gravecrawler for reanimate strategies, infinite mana, and the likes. And you also happen to be a good part of the color pie, right? Blue, black, Dimir. You're going to do a lot of good things just by and by. Rotcleaver is great. The visions are okay. The one card I definitely want to talk about that was mentioned, I believe we mentioned Curse of Obsession, and we also mentioned Lind. So let's go ahead and take a look at Curse of Obsession. Then, of course, if you guys are interested in speaking of any more of these creatures, we can take a gander at them. The general theme here seems to be draw cards, though. As I mentioned off the bat, it seems to me that they've come to the conclusion that Commander players like draw, and this is just basic good value draw stuff. You know, varying effects in between, but you'll get to draw cards. Which is very helpful, I think, for the general Commander player. Like, if you're new to Commander, these sets would probably be good for you, like Wilhelt Lenore. They're going to help you keep up with the pace of your standard Commander table. But Curse of Obsession, I think this is one that we wanted to look at. For generic 1 red enchant player, at the beginning of enchanted player's draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards. Okay, so it's like Sylvan Library, but 5. Right? At the beginning of enchanted player's end step, that player discards their hand. There are cards that already do this. Is this a reprint? Okay. There are cards that already do this. It's not bad, but it's not great. I'll stop there. It's not great. Lynn, Cheerful Tormentor. God. Oh my God. Who is she poking? Oh, that's the curse guy. That is the curse guy. Wait, that little doll is the curse guy. Wait, yeah, it is, isn't it? Curse of Opulence. Let's do this. Well, I promise I'll look at it in a second. Yeah, that's so good. Who is this guy? I was gonna say actor, but who is this model for this card? That's him there. She's Grixis. Great. So we know what she's probably gonna end the game with. But for 1 generic, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, 2/4 body, Death Touch, Human Warlock, whenever a curse is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to the battlefield attached to you at the beginning of the next end step. That seems pretty brutal. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may attach a curse attached to you to one of your opponents. If you do, draw 2 cards. Huh. Is this a good enough engine? So for the individuals looking to play Lind, I think the first thing you need to do is see how many relevant curses there actually are, right? And see how many tutors there are for curses. I believe that there are actually some search curse. I think there's at least 1. Is it just this? God. You may search your library for a curse, put it onto the battlefield attached to a player, then shuffle your library. This is actually a good reanimate target in Lind. It seems weird saying that, but the fact that it finds it and puts it on a player is actually quite good. What's interesting about this is that if you were to do this off turn, right? So if you were to do like a Shallow Grave reanimate Bitterheart Witch to find a curse and put it on myself, at the beginning of my upkeep, I may attach that curse to one of my opponents. And in doing so, draw 2 cards, provided she's stuck. So that's not bad. It kind of sucks that that was the only tutor, though. Right? At the beginning, you may search your library for a curse card that doesn't have the same name as a curse attached to an enchanted player. Great. It's 99 card singleton. Put it onto the battlefield, attach to that player, then shuffle your library. Also good. Also good. So you have 2 options here. I think that Lind might be able to pull through. If you're doing this as a slow burn value list, it's going to rely on stacks for sure, and that you're going to rely on perhaps those 2 tutors, your common tutors in these colors, and generally speaking, you're probably going to have an Underworld Breach package in here. I don't want to say that this should devolve down to using Thassa's Oracle, but it will probably want to conclude the game with Thassa's Oracle. Who are we kidding? That's kind of what Grixis' bread and butter is. but you have the best tutors in the world with black. You have Underworld Breach and Dockside Extortion is in red. And then generally speaking, you have every single counter spell. What 45% of this list will look like blue with counters, and then Thoracle and a Brain Freeze, provided you do go the Underworld Breach route. I think it would be more interesting to focus on the curse aspect of this card, because there are better Grixis commanders for doing the proactive nonsense. But I'm interested. What are there other cards you want to look at? Curse of Obsession. I'm sorry, Timothy. Curse of Obsession was the one we had mentioned, and oh, no, I'm sorry. No, we looked at that one. That's the one. That's the one. Okay, we looked at it. I like Wilheld Gravecrawler. Is Wilheld going to be a face card for a commander deck? Like, am I still hopeful for Dimir Zombie goodies? I don't know. I'm not sure. Hopefully someone has answered that already, but we'll see. I don't know if you said much about Liesa, but I'm hyped to run her in Magus of Balance and Thought Picker Witch. Absolutely disgusting. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, Magus of Balance with her. Okay. I mentioned, we looked at Liesa briefly, but this is kind of a cool effect because each opponent chooses a number of lands they control equal to the number of lands they control another player. Players discard cards and sacrifice creatures the same way. And then obviously Liesa, as we just saw, there's 2 of her. We're looking at the new one. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand. So you'll get the thing back, but your opponents will just lose the things. That's a really cool synergy. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think balance is banned, right? Actual balance is banned. Sadly. Yeah, okay. It could have been really cool, though. Sexy analysis, good sir. Luis, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You have to run all in these colors to get benefits from her ability. I think if you just Ashtosh, I think if you just ran the good ones and like emphasize them, you'll probably get away with it. But I think you're absolutely right in the sense that it's so niche. Like Sithis is an Enchantress deck, cast enchantments. This is a curse deck, and we didn't do a general search, but there probably aren't that many curses that you would want to leverage. Anyway, you can just tutor for enchantments. Black has all the tutors. Yes, you're absolutely right, Luis. I was just trying to see if there were, obviously you have enchantment tutors. You're not in whites. You don't have like the enlightened tutor, but you're in black, which is clearly better. I just want to see if there were cursed tutors. I remember there being cursed tutors. I didn't know how good they were. Those are fine, actually, in their own rights. If she gets removed before your upkeep, you start cursing. Mateus, yeah, you're right. You will be cursing if Lind gets killed. She will not be cheerful. Let's just say that. I'm thinking Lind might be better with pure Retir than Adnos. That might be true. There's so many red curses. There are a lot of red curses. I know so many mono red players that would say thank you if you attach Curse of Obsession to them. Best draw they've ever had. So sad and true. Jen's kid says hopefully we'll get better zombies in the second set of the block. And on that note, I certainly hope so as well. But guys, thank you so much for joining me on this live stream set review. I absolutely love doing these. It's so fun to do these with a viewing audience to get your feedback on this set. Obviously, you can expect very, very many more of these in the future. This is how I want to guide all of these in the future. They're just too much fun for me personally. But now I need to get ready for the rest of my life. Regardless, you will see some content from me for next week. Expect 3 YouTube shorts. I don't know why I'm giving myself work on a vacation, but expect 3 YouTube shorts and 1 very long gameplay edited down for you on Sunday. Let's see if I can get to all of that. I am not excited, but I am excited to deliver that to you. And again, hang tight to the end of this month for a Brew Wars Live with Casually Competitive. I'm excited to have them on again. We had them on for a previous play test, but this is going to be worlds better because we're going to be playing the drinking game that I've developed for the channel, which is always a good time. But again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and happy brewing, babies. Thanks for staying to the end, all of you. I'm going to finish this drink casually and just relax with you before I close this out. Any closing thoughts you can share with me, though? You're more than welcome to stream out, though. This is it. This is the end. Nothing else happening here. Just me chilling with a glass of tequila. You have no idea how worried I am about this travel. You have no idea. How many TikTok videos I see of just anti-maskers just fucking going crazy, throwing tantrums and delaying flights for their own stupidity. Like I had to, when I bought my plane tickets, I had to go through 3 separate tabs of you must wear a mask. I'm like, okay, well, if I didn't want to, like I have the freedom to ignore these rules, but I'm not free from the consequences of my own fucking stupidity. What sucks is in these instances where you agree to these things and you hold people up. I mean, I'm very much a New Yorker in the sense that I don't like being held up. I don't like my time being compromised by schmucks. And my God, I feel like my phone has listened to me complain about this concern with Allison. And like, I just get so many TikToks of just stupid people on planes. So I'm really hoping to avoid that. But thank you for the safe trip. Well wishing. I will see you guys on the next one.